Is that me?
Nah, Eddie, you opening some chips? Eddie got some snacks. Eddie at the movie theater. Eddie at the movie theater. He opening up some chips.
Yeah, I have to get some.
It's about to be a movie.
Yeah, we're about to
man.
Eddie, share some of those chips. Pass them over here.
Please.
Yo, man.
You know what? Dang.
When someone says something, man, I look like a kid who got in trouble. I'm like, oop.
All right, y'all ready to rock?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. What's good? You are tuned to Apartment 5E podcast hosted by your man Kill. Squad's in effect with us tonight. As always, ladies first. Porsche, what's going on, miss?
Not a whole lot, Kill. How are you?
Everything is good. The R&B rap, JR, what's going on today, good brother?
What's going on, brother? What's going on?
No doubt. We got my brother Eddie out in LA. What's going on, fam?
I'm good, man. Always looking forward to this.
All right, no doubt. Philadelphia representative Rel with the low, with the Phillies. I see you got them fearless. Them fearless ones up there. I love them joints. I see you got the 11 breads. I love them joints. There you go.
Something.
No doubt.
Glad to be here.
I got my man with us today for the first time chopping up. My man Briz. What's going on, good brother?
And peace and love to everybody.
No doubt. Y'all know me. Let's jump right into it today. Today, I'm excited about this show because this is one that, I'm always telling people I'm on Twitter to discuss, not to debate. And this is going to be a discussion, but I almost feel like some people can change their minds up in here. Like most times, like when you hear debate, it's like I'm trying to change your mind. Like you think Kane is the best. I think Rakim is the best. So we're going to debate. And that goal is for you to either change my mind or vice versa. I'm like, nah, we just here to discuss it. Truth be told, I don't give a fuck what people think. If you think Kane's the best, it makes me know, never mind. It really doesn't. If I think Rakim, same thing. But in this discussion, I think we may change our definitions a couple of times tonight, which is one of the very few times I think this will happen. So the reason where all this sparked from is I did a thread on DOS effects because something came across my timeline about them being one hit.
That what that was about.
And it was going, everybody was loving the DOS stuff, and then somebody said, yeah, but DOS bit it from Jay. And I was like, I can't see that. And one cat who I ended up having to block because this nigga was like a little kid, but he was like, nah, he bit it from Jay with the originators. And I was like, he was like, let's debate it. And I was like, nigga, nah, like, let's not. Because this is what you're going to do. You're going to send me some links. I'm going to send you some links. And an hour later, we're still going to be in the same fucking place we were an hour ago. So let's just say we didn't and say we did. But of course, he sent me links and everything like that. Then somebody else had hit me with this jazz song that I actually forgot about. And he said something to the extent of something like diggity during the chorus. You know what I mean? And I was like, I guess, but for me, I'm like, I gave the analogy of low. I said, for instance, if Rel saw me rock one low shirt and then Rel copped everything else low, you know what I mean? Who would really be known for bringing low to the mainstream? Would it be me? Because I only had one shirt. But I guess technically I was the first, but Rel is the one that everybody's known for. So I said, I still can't give that to Jay for being the originator of the diggity style or jazz, because when everybody was doing it, everybody was like, oh, they biting DOS effects. I never heard anybody say, oh, they biting Jay-Z or they biting jazz. I was like, to me, that whole original flavor shit, to me, that was just Jay rapping fast. You know what I mean? Like that, I didn't hear diggity. I just heard a whole bunch of words real fast or whatever like that. So that's what started, but it had me thinking, what's the difference between biting and influencing? You have one of my favorite quotes in hip hop is Master Ace from the Symphony, the sign on the door, no biting allowed. You know what I mean? And at least in the 80s, that's what we lived by. No biting allowed. But then you also have influence. So Porsche, how would you define biting versus influence? What's the definition of biting for you? What's the definition of influence for you?
So influence for me is like if someone sort of steers you in a direction and there's some semblance to it, but it's not an exact replica of it. So biting for me is like copying. doesn't have to be exact to the very last point, but enough that you immediately think, wait a minute, I've heard this before, or I've seen this before, or didn't so-and-so do this first? Or wow, that's like almost identical to what so-and-so had said or did or whatever. So that's the difference for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. JL, what about you?
Biting, I agree with Porsche. It's just like if you hear something and you like, wait a minute, somebody did that exact same thing. So they clearly just bit them. But influence, like she said, it's like you got stirred in this direction, but you didn't really just take it. It was like, all right, I heard it, but then I made my own thing of it. And then that's influence to me.
All right. What about you, Ralph?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think if influence is like something you did, or it kind of like pushed me in a direction, or it kind of like enhanced something that I was already doing. Biting is just taking something from somebody, and then like you have no originality with yourself at all. Like you just stealing. You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of the difference. Like taking somebody's wave, making it your own. You know what I'm saying? I think I think that's biting.
All right. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what everyone's saying. I mean, biting is, to me, biting is more deliberate. You know, if you're influenced by someone, you might incorporate and say, "Wow, I like how they do that," but you're still gonna try to do your own thing, right? But for example, right, if Kill is producing something, take that for example. Like he might be influenced by something that you're Pete Rock. It doesn't mean that he's trying to sound like Pete Rock. He may just say, "Wow, that's a cool technique. Let me utilize that," but not like taking someone's whole style. So I think that's the difference between that. But I also kind of have a third thing that goes along with influence, which is paying homage. I think people really mix up when someone is paying homage and when someone is biting, and I think there's a fine line there too. So for me, paying homage is like what. Well, I don't want to get into it because
I get it. We definitely gonna talk about paying homage because that's a twist too to it. Briz, what about you? What you think, brother?
So I think first of all, there's no new flow under the sun. Like I think that everybody's gonna get something from everybody. I think where it comes into biting is, so that's influence, right? But I think that where biting comes into play is when there's like a direct correlation. Like it's like close proximity to what's going on. So whether it's something that's going on, I think it's really about a matter of time, as opposed to it being like just like sounding like somebody. Because I think even more so is one thing to sound like somebody or bite somebody's like to take flow, but I think there's also like taking somebody's whole style. It's not just about the flow; it's about the content. I think everything, when you encapsulate everything like that, then it becomes bite.
Right. All right. No doubt. Trey Lee.
What's happening, man? Sorry for the tardiness, man.
The man of the
It's
hour.
all good. It's all good. Philadelphia legend in the building.
Salute.
What is your definition of biting, and what's your definition of influence?
I mean, biting is an overall straight jack. You see what I'm saying? And I ain't just talking about like a one-time pay homage situation. I'm talking about just an over an enormous amount of time. You have adopted somebody else's style, the way you carry yourself, the way you dress, the way you speak, the way all of that is all encompassing. You know what I'm saying? And you have no signs of letting off the gas. You know what I'm saying? Like you have no intention on letting off the gas. You just pedal to the metal. I'm just jacking your whole everything. You know what I mean? That's a
Right.
bite. That's disrespectful. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to fight. You know what I mean? That's whereas influence, you know what I'm saying, is quite the opposite. It's again paying homage, maybe a one-off, you know what I'm saying, and maybe a premeditated thing, you know what I'm saying, where you actually announce, listen, I am straight taking this in honor of, you know what I'm saying. That's not a bite. That's paying respects or showing respects and admiration. And there is signs of letting off the gas. You know what I'm saying? You're going to take your foot off the pedal. You're going to hit the brakes because you know that's disrespectful if you just go full, you know what I'm saying, pedal to the metal with it and jack somebody's style. So that's my personal definition. You know what I mean?
All right, no doubt. My joint, and just shameless plug, Glory, go cop the album, cop a hoodie, cop some merch, cop the book, Trey Lee's new album. For me, influence, I have it as seeing or hearing something that's dope and trying to change it to make it yours. And the example, and a lot of examples I'm gonna give is producer stuff. I got some MC stuff, but it's a lot of producer stuff. For instance, Dilla used the same Roy Ayers Ain't Got No Time that Pete used as an interlude on the main ingredient, and he flipped it to make it into Black Star's Little Brother that was on the Hurricane soundtrack. So it's the same sample, but Dilla used it a completely different way. You know what I mean? And what Dilla used to do is he, you know, Pete is like, was Dilla's hero. So he would like he would use samples that Pete used and try to freak them differently. And he would tell Quest like, yo, don't let Pete hear this. Don't let him know I'm doing this. Like, I don't want him to think I'm biting. Like, he's such an influence on me. I want to try to see what he did with that sample, but what I could do with it different. So to me, that's influence. To me, biting is just taking somebody's whole style. So for instance, another production thing, when I was at 889, guess back in 99, 2000, and I got the advanced copy of Jill Scott's first album, and I played it, and I was like, whew, Dilla getting that R&B money off this joint. And then when I get the actual album and I open it up and it's like a touch of jazz, I'm like, God damn, these niggas bit everything from Dilla, like from the rooter to the tutor, like everything on here sounds like Dilla. The bass tones, the drum programming, like to me to this day, a touch of jazz and Jazzy Jeff, love for Philadelphia. Y'all niggas owe Dilla 10% of everything y'all make. Y'all owe that man's whole family tithes and offerings because the whole touch of jazz sound is all Dilla, all of it. Like, and I mean, and to me, that it's no beef. That's not but Philly love, but that's a fucking fact. Like, I mean, Quest has even talked about how I was like, yeah, you know, Jill wanted to work with Soulquarians, but we were so busy and Touch of Jazz kind of did the best Soulquarian knockoff because that's the sound they wanted. To me, that was biting. You know what I mean? So now that we got that out the way, I got some questions for y'all. Let me ask y'all this. And this could just be yes or no, biting or influence, thumbs up, thumbs down. Commons, I Used to Love Her, came out in 94. We all know this song. It's about hip hop, you know, using it as a female, talking about how, you know, he was in love with the woman and it turned out to be hip hop at the end. Now, in 97, 98, maybe 99, I can't keep up with dates anymore. The Roots, Things Fall Apart comes out. They have a song called Love of My Life. Same premise, hip hop's a girl. Oh God, I love you. Fast forward to 2018, Master Ace and Marco Polo's album. They got a song on there called Still Love Her. And I'll never forget because I'm listening to the album and I'm like, God damn it, 22 years later and we still making damn songs about hip hop being a girl. Now, is that biting or is that influence? It's a song. Common invented this. Hip hop is a girl. I personally felt like it should have stopped there and it never should have fucking been redone again. To me, I would have to almost say that's biting for me. That's biting because, you know, they're taking that. When I'm at the point where, God, again, another song about hip hop being a girl, but that's just me. Porsche, biting or influence?
To me, that's influence. And the only reason I say that is because it was one for each, right? If the Roots had done that song and then did a subsequent one and then another one after, and then they just kept riding out this concept and theme, then I would be like, okay, like get off the Common thing. Or same with Masta Ace and Polo. Like if they had just kept doing it, then I would have been like, okay, that's definitely a bite. But a one-off, yeah, to me that's influence.
So a one-off, even based off of a one-off, because that wasn't Common style. It was just one Common song.
But Common came up with the concept. He rolled it out perfectly. Except for I don't like that he told us that it was hip hop at the end. Yeah.
One day I was in my apartment at Morgan. I was like, oh shit, he talking about a girl. Y'all nigga like nigga. Like he said. Y'all know I'm a beat person first. So I mean, you know, I was just like, oh shit. Like I jumped up like, oh shit, that nigga talking about a girl. Y'all niggas was looking at me like, nigga, you sure you in college? Like, nigga, like you right? You know, so I maybe I needed that, but neither you know that. Okay, so that's influence for you.
Yeah.
JR, what about you? Influence or bite?
I'm gonna say influence. I think that influence, because like Portia said, one off. It's like, okay, but if they kept doing it, it's like, nah, you biting now. So I say influence too.
Bro, what about you?
I say influence for a different reason. I say influence because the Lover was using hip hop as a female from Common's point of view. Like, so the way Common looked at it. So I think each of the other songs, while the theme was the same, their experience and their look at hip hop is different. You know what I'm saying? So they took the theme, but it's not 100% the same. Like that's their view of how, even though they use the woman as the, you know what I'm saying, personification of hip hop, they still use their own experiences and how they looked at it, because the way Common looked at hip hop going to the West, the next person might not have looked at it like that. So that's why I think it was influence.
All right, no doubt, good point. Eddie, what about you?
Yeah, I think it was influence. As far as the root song, well, number one, it featured Common, and Common came on that song, and his verse was, I mean, Black Thought's verse was personification, I guess, but not in the same way. I feel like Common really, with his verse, kind of made that a part two. I don't know if it was a part 2 or part 3, because then he also had, you remember, he had the joint for the Brown Sugar soundtrack with Erykah Badu. So he himself also redid it. So I mean, I don't think it's biting, because if they just went and jacked it and didn't have Common involved at all, then maybe it might be a different situation.
So what about Marco Polo then? Because Common ain't on that.
I think it was probably an influence thing. You know, I don't, you know, there has been, the difference with that one is that there was enough time that passed, and I feel like they kind of brought it back for maybe newer fans, but I don't.
So like there's a statute of limitation then, like, you know, after 20 years,
maybe.
Like I can sample your music without paying for the copyright, because you know that used to be a little rumor back in the day, Briz. I know you heard that. Like, yo, if the song is X amount years old, I don't gotta clear it because it's 50 years old, and
it becomes public domain. Yeah.
All right, so you got.
I mean, you know, I would say this though. You know, maybe Marco Polo and them and Masta Ace, maybe they should have shouted out Common in there. I don't remember if they did or not, but that would have been cool.
For you, you're like for the roots. Yeah. But since Common was there, that's the factor for you. All right, Briz, what about you? Influence or biting?
I think influence, just based because Common's song was so huge. It was so historic that it set such a strong precedent that anybody doing it would automatically be seen as paying homage as opposed to biting, because nobody in their right mind would try to say, almost with biting, you almost have to look at it as if like they don't think the other it's almost like what they're biting from is non-existent. And that one you can't deny it. It's like so it's so part of hip hop history that anybody who does any kind of conceptualized song about hip hop and a female, the first person you're gonna think about is Common. So and you as an artist or artist writing that is gonna know that, oh well, I'm gonna flip it this way. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, again, like paying homage to influence.
All right, Trey, you're an artist. I want you to think of this two ways for me. You're Common. Or no, think about this. You're Trey Lee. You did I Used to Love Her. Now you hear other people doing it. How do you feel as an artist from that perspective?
It just depends on how you flip it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because I mean, shit, I got my own version. You know what I'm saying? Of making that analogy or comparison with hip hop and a woman. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think everybody has their own individual relationships with women. You know what I'm saying? And their experience with a woman in particular, that it can kind of coincide and align with their experience with the game and their experience with hip hop and their experience with, and this is, based off of trials and tribulations, ups and downs, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm going to definitely say his influence. I mean, my version of it is, his version was I used to love her. My version is, for all intents and purposes, is I still love her, regardless of how drugged up you are, how, bummy you look, how, you've been, you just went from the high rise to the low rise and all that other stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll take you as you are, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? So
very
yeah.
dope points, everybody. This is a prime example of what I'm talking about. I started off 7 minutes ago saying it was biting. I now believe it's influence. So that's why I said it's going to be a lot of this going on today. Now, my second one, this was brought to my attention. Me and Naomi are painting her room. We're listening to old school hip hop. Dana Dane comes on. She's like, Daddy, he's from London? I'm like, nah, he ain't from London. He's from Fort Greene Projects in Brooklyn. Well, why he rhyming like he from London? Oh, because he was in a crew called the Kango Crew with Slick Rick and woo woo woo. Well, but don't Slick Rick, wasn't he from London? I'm like, yeah. And she was like, and he wore the Kango? Yeah. And she was like, I showed her the album cover. She was like, but ain't that biting? And I was like, fuck. Like, I never thought about Dana Dane as biting Slick, because they were in the same crew, but out the mouth of babes. And I'm like, well, fuck. What? Well, why are you rapping? And this was Dana's whole career. This wasn't just a one-off. He always rapped like he had a London accent.
And that's it. Yeah.
Fort Greene Projects. Is that biting? And I'm looking at it like, fuck, I guess. But then why didn't we think of that in 88? Right?
I wait my turn, actually. I wait my turn. I want to hear everybody else's perspective.
Porsche, biting or not, somebody who is not from London, rapping like he's
biting.
from.
To me, that's biting. And it's biting because you know good and well you're not from London. You know good and well you saw Slick Rick wear Kangol, so you rocked it too. You know good and well that you just needed that sort of thing. Now, I mean, yeah, like Slick, especially Slick Rick, because I think he's been the target of some people would say biting across the board. So yeah, to me, Dana Dane, that's a bite. That's a whole bite for me.
What about you? Bite?
Yeah, I think that's biting. And my dad used to talk about that all the time. He said he didn't like Dana Dane because of that. He was like, yo, he's biting from Slick Rick. Like, you ain't from London. You from Fort Greene. Like, why you sound like this? Like, what's wrong with you? So, yeah, I grew up with that. So my dad did not like Dana Dane because he was like, yo, he's biting. So,
right. Well, what about you? Biting or influence?
Yo, when I was a kid, when I first saw Dana Dane, that's the first thing I thought about. Like, I was like, he's biting Slick Rick. That's what I thought. You know what I'm saying? But I know some people that like that mess with Dana Dane like that, like back then. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it was kind of it kind of swayed me a little bit to say he wasn't biting, but now that I think about it, it's like it was a bite, but they were in the same crew. So how does that work?
And I mean, that's what I want to get to, because when Naomi said that, it was like a hip hop epiphany for me, because I was like, when she's breaking it, she literally killed me. She did a kill Jedi mind trick on me. Like, she used my trick on myself. And she was like, well, but Daddy, I don't get it if you're, even if you're in the same. So she's like, let me get this straight. So she's taking Spanish. So she was like, if I'm in a crew of girls who are actually, who speak Spanish, and I'm trying to speak in that accent, like, wouldn't you be like, yo, be yourself? And I'm like, fuck, yeah, I guess I would. Like, so it just messed on my whole head. It was like a weird hip hop epiphany for me, because I've never thought about that. I mean, Dana Dane with Fame is literally like one of my most prized CDs. This is crazy hard to find on CD, and it's like I love this album, Cinderfella, Nightmares, everything. But Eddie, what about you? Biting or Influence?
Yeah, biting, man. Like I think the first time I heard Nightmares, I thought it was Slick Rick, and then kind of listening to it a little bit more, I was like, nah, they ain't Slick Rick, But yeah, it's weird. Like I'm not sure why. I mean, maybe Slick Rick might have just been on his all right, let's get this money together thing. Like you might be biting, but you're down with my crew, so it's all coming back.
Right.
But
Right.
I think
so you got biting.
Yeah.
All right, Briz, biting or Influence?
I don't know, man. How do we know? Slick didn't give him the idea to do it. You know what I mean? A la Biggie and Lil Kim. You know what I mean? Like, how do we know? Like, it was like Eddie said, just to get like a get money thing. Like, I got the influence, so when we just use it, run with it. But because they're so close in proximity, it's kind of hard to say that it was deliberate. I mean, it was definitely deliberate, but it's hard to say whether it was with or without permission. You know what I'm saying? But so I'm gonna lean towards the influence side of that.
All right, Trey, what you got for us, good brother?
I'm definitely saying influence. And the only reason I'm saying influence is because they were in the same crew. Slick Rick clearly and overtly gave him permission to do such a thing. You see what I'm saying? For a long stretch. To me, biting is when you do that shit without permission. You do that shit unapologetically, just jack somebody's shit. Like, it wasn't a jack. What it was is these cats was in a circle. They was in the cypher. They had the Kango crew. They was dressing the same. They was doing all the same shit. And again, I wasn't in them circles, but who's to say, they wasn't trading lyrics with one another? Who's to say, what I'm saying, one of them didn't? It might not have been Slick that said, yo, check this out. Dang, why don't you mirror blase blah, such and such, da-da-da, you do this and that? Because again, if it wasn't for the fact that they wasn't in the same circle, it would definitely be a bite.
Okay.
But because they're in the same, and he gave him you had permission. I see what this is. Like, we can make and you got to remember, back then it was about individuals and crews finding their own lane, and so they was the only ones in that lane. You see what I'm saying? The only ones dressing like that. They were only ones coming off like that. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely think it's influence only because
of that. Because of the crew.
Yeah.
All right. This right here. Is this biting or influence? You got the Roy Ayers, He's Coming, album cover. You got the Smith & Wesson, The Shining album cover. Influence or bite? Because there are a lot of hip-hop album covers that would take Blue Note album covers and make it theirs and everything like that. So again, the Roy Ayers, He's Coming, with the eye, everything, people in the circle, Smith & Wesson, The Shining, eye in the middle, people around it. JR, bite or not?
Whew. Portia, you lucky. You lucky.
You want me to move Portia back up? I can move her back up to. Let me move her back up. There you go, Portia.
Yes.
Sorry, my nephew threw something at the Wi-Fi and turned it off. Sorry, I've been laughing.
Good. Cyrus was like, "Nah, I want Auntie Porsche. Get off that show."
Yeah, that's right. Cyrus was like, "Enough with this." Anyways, to me, that's biting, and it's biting because I know it's a one-off. I don't think there were subsequent albums that had the exact same cover, but for me, I just feel like that's almost like a complete replica. That's not like there's no twist on it. There's no I made it my own. It's literally like a replica, and colors don't count to me. So the image, and again, when you look at that, you're like, wait a minute, I saw this on the other album, So to me, that's a straight bite. I don't consider that influence.
Rel, what about you? Biting or influence? We could do a game show. You could pass. And we come back.
I'm gonna say influence. I'm gonna say it because that particular artist, hip hop has used and paid homage to that artist a lot. So I want to say, if you're going to take it like that, like it looks almost the same. It looks exactly the same. So I don't think they would just like copy it like that just to bite it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but it's Smith and Wesson. I'm thinking maybe it was a pay homage thing for that album cover. I understand if somebody says it's exactly the same. I just don't know if they were paying homage or if they were biting. Like that's a difficult one for me, just based on the artist. Like I don't attribute biting to Smith and Wesson. You know what I'm saying? In no way, shape, or form. So I don't know. That's a tough one.
Eddie, what about you? Biting influence?
I agree with Rel. It falls into the paying homage thing because I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I read that they also sampled from that Roy Ayers
I was just about
album.
to ask that. I was going to ask that.
So they sampled him on one of them joints. So it's definitely paying homage. Like I don't think it was a straight bite. It was like, all right, they sampled him. So I don't think they were influenced by the album cover. Like my definition of influence. That's why I kind of have paying homage and kind of like a middle ground. They were definitely paying homage to that album cover, you know, because that's really the only thing that makes sense. If they sampled him and you know, use his, you know, music like that and then use the album cover, you know, I think it was just out of respect.
All right, no doubt. Briz, what about you?
Definitely paying homage. I think that they knew deliberately, like, oh, we're gonna that record might have been one of their favorites. And you know, with Drew High and everybody digging in the crates the way they do, that record was sitting around that studio. They got the vibes, they got the samples and everything like that. And they say, you know what? We're gonna show Roy some love on this one. Or I mean, I don't know, man. I could play devil's advocate. They could go either way on this one. The photographer might have just been like, hey, I got a great idea. And it wasn't even his, you know what I mean? It's hard to tell. But I think with biting, again, like it comes down to intent. You know what I mean? And if the intent was to portray as if it's your own, then it's biting. That album cover, I'm gonna be honest with you, like I actually might be leaning more towards biting now that I'm thinking about it, because
I mean, I said that's why I was excited for the show, because you're gonna have some. You may start talking and you on the left side, and by the sometimes people gonna talk themselves out of their own argument.
I'm starting to, because now I'm thinking back to when that album came out, and I was like, yo, this is a dope cover. Right. Now, if I would have known that,
here's another.
Can you show the album covers again?
Yeah. You got the Smith and Wesson. Let me get that in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got that, and then the Roy Ayers. Making sure I'm in the right camera.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
here's the thing.
Hold tight. And here's another one. You got the Beatnuts, Intoxicated Demons, and that's really Hank Mobley's The Turnaround, which was a Blue Note album.
Okay, I have a question.
And then you got the Uptown Saturday Night too.
But are we giving passes because we like the artists and the groups?
Well, that's a good question. Let's say this, Trey. You're the resident counsel. Do whatever. Say some words.
I would just like to present one more thing to the council before council starts speaking.
Right, because Trey, say some lawyer talk that we cannot put our favorites in here.
Yes, right.
It's renounced that we are literally just sticking to the script. Like, this is Eddie Murphy and Boomerang. This is just dinner and a movie. This is like just we're sticking with, is it biting or not? We're not taking favoritisms and all of that into it.
My only thing is how do you prove intent? I like intent, and I've thought about intent, but that's like, How do you prove that? That's something
Well, I mean,
that
that's the thing, Porsche, and we can't go that deep. We can't go that deep
so
because
Trey,
we'll be here
please
forever.
explain.
So
Yeah, please
this is
explain.
literally just like off on the top of your head. You're seeing this for the first time. That's the OG. This is it. Is it a bite?
Okay.
Grizz was more leaning towards biting. Trey, what about you? What you got?
I'm agreeing with. At first, I was agreeing with Briz, Rel, and Eddie, but since Briz leaned back over to the other side, I'm saying, okay, so we're talking about two different genres here, right?
Yeah, two different genres: Roy
Right.
Ayers, jazz,
And
Smith and Wesson, hip hop.
And I think another word that we're leaving out, with regards to biting, which is an important word for me, is disrespect. Disrespect is a major part of biting.
Yeah.
Because with the intent, there's disrespect as well. You see what I'm saying? In this particular case, because of the fact that they sample from that particular album, this is two different genres, and because hip hop is based off of, because if you want to say that, then hip hop is biting.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So to break that down, in this particular case, I'd have to say it's influence. You know what I'm saying? Based off of, like what Eddie said, them sampling that record. And I would like to throw another word in there too, interpolation.
Interpolation is such a pass.
Oh God, that word.
That's a pass. That's what we pull out when we want to be like, no, we want to save this and get out
Right.
of the card.
That is an interpolation of the cover based off, and if you think about it, it's using creativity as well. Because you're saying we're going to sample from this record. This is a totally different genre, but this is what hip hop is about. So we're going to give you the interpolation. And for those that know, they know. But for those that don't know, when they discover, they'll be like, "Oh, I get it now."
But it's exactly the same. It's not. I was influenced, therefore.
But it was intended. That's the intention.
But here's the thing.
When you're paying homage, the intention is that it's going to be similar enough that you know where the influence
what it is,
from.
right?
Yes.
Right.
See,
They're not trying to claim it as their own. They're not.
And here's the thin line and the slippery slope for me here. And this is why I was so hyped for this show. Because like Trey said, this comes back to then sampling. Because again, it's a blatant bite. But Porsche, would you think, again, the Honeysuckle Breeze with Troy, as soon as I play it for you, it's the horn line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing done different to it. Pete did not chop it up and replay it backwards or take 4 different.
Right.
As soon as I put the needle on Troy, you hear they reminisce over you. I mean, when I put the needle on the Tom Scott joint, you hear that. So again, just and this is just the icebreaker. We ain't even get to the show, y'all. Folk watching, and when y'all watching the TV, this ain't even the show.
We're gonna be here all night.
Oh Lord.
So because again, like I said, if you talk long enough, you may talk yourself out of your original argument, like Briz just did. You know, when you bring something back.
I have to agree with Trey when he says that if it's a different genre. I think the only thing, like, I can accept that it's influence on the fact that it's different genres. I mean,
that's where I was going.
Like, and that's fair, and that's a very fair point to make, because in that case, yes, but as long as it's clear that this was like an exact replica taken from a different genre, because
so the point, Porsche, what you're saying is, as long as that wasn't another hip hop group, as long as that wasn't, I'll give you a great example. I'll give you a great example. And Trey, you may remember this. I can't get my hands on the CD. I'm gonna have to eventually get my hands on the album cover. The original Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince Rock the House album was the exact same cover as the King of Rock album. It was the exact same cover. So where's my Run DMC joint? It literally was like this with Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince on the bottom.
Oh, they were biting.
That's a bite.
They changed it to this for Rock the House. But the original, if you're from Philly and you got the vinyl, it looked just like that. That to me was biting, because it's the same genre. It's only 2 years apart. That was biting, and I'm assuming that's why somebody smacked them in the back of their heads and said, "Use this cover or whatever."
Let me tell y'all something right now. it was a lot of biting in the 80s.
Yes.
A lot
Oh yeah,
of biting in the 80s. A lot. A
Right.
lot.
All right, Trey.
You
So
know,
we're gonna
I'ma
get to
add
that.
something.
JR. Yeah, I'm sorry,
I'm
Bruce.
gonna
What's up?
just add one thing to it, and what really made me kind of just switch my mode was I was thinking back to when I was a kid, and I had that album, that Smith and Wesson album, and then the emotion came over me because now, if I was in a record store and pulled at that Roy Ayers, I would have been like, oh shit, these boys just straight jacked this boy's album cover. You know what I mean? I'm thinking of like the emotional connection of it from that perspective. Like, if they would have made it look like it was old, they made it modern in their time. But if they would have made it look like it was old, I'd have been like, oh, why these boys made this look like it was old? It would have made me go and do research on it to find where the original album came from. But instead, I'm just looking at it like it was, I forgot what year the album came out. I think it was what, 93, 94, 95. I was sitting if I was sitting in Blockbuster Music, and pull that CD out, and then 5 years later, I'm digging in the crates down in North Miami, and I would have found that old Roy Ayers out, and I'd be like, oh, hold up. You know what I mean? It would have been a total different emotional connection to it.
And the funny thing is I was the flip. I was at my man Little Mike's house going through his crates, and I saw that, and I was like, oh shit, this is dope. Like, my first reaction was like almost hearing the sample for the first time, being like my OG Roots had a show, Milk Crates, on 889, where he would play the original, and we would just be like, oh, that's where Premier got such and such from, or whatever. All right, we got that. JR, biting or homage after hearing
once Eddie asked if they sampled something off that album, I said it's influence.
I got two more, y'all, and then we're gonna get to the show.
Okay.
Big using the baby on the cover of Ready to Die after Nas' Illmatic. And on Ray and Ghost album, Shark Biters, we all know the skid.
Yeah.
They biting Nas, whatever. For me personally, I didn't see it as biting because I look at Illmatic and Ready to Die as two totally different album covers. Like, I never once thought, oh shit, he bit that. Now, if you would have had a picture of Big with the Brooklyn Projects behind him, I'm all on board for that was biting. I just felt like Ray and Ghost and Wu and them niggas didn't like Big, and it was like, whatever excuse we can get to get at that nigga, we gonna get at that nigga. Porsche, what did you think about the whole Shark Biters kid?
I don't even think that's an influence. I don't think that's anything remotely close to what was going on either album.
Right.
I think that was just two completely separate entities, and I think I'm exactly with you, Kill. I think the Wu guys just didn't like Big. They just wanted to put something on wax that had some sort of slight, and they did it. I mean, there's nothing similar. There is absolutely nothing similar. Like, Big has a baby that's not him. It's not his baby picture. It's a random baby. Then Nas is like 9 years old. He's behind a backdrop, a skyline of New York. Big is on a white background. Like, nothing of it is like, the font is different. There's like, no.
All right, so you got influence.
No, right. I got nothing.
No, you got nothing. You got nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah, it's not.
It's like, fuck that. It's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. It's just two separate things.
Biting influence or nothing.
I'm gonna have to say nothing. Nas is like my favorite rapper, and I didn't even think about that until Ray and Ghost and them said it. Like, it wasn't close to me. I think like it's other album covers later on that might have bit Nas' album cover, but not that one. Right. I didn't, and I think when you hear Nas explain that album cover, that shit don't have nothing to do with remotely what was going on with Ready to Die. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. I don't think it was an influence. I don't think it was nothing. I do think you know what I'm saying, that was something for Ray and them to get at Big about. Because I didn't even think about it until they said something on the interlude. So I don't think it's nothing.
Eddie, what about you?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything. To be honest, I think the more iconic part of that Nas album cover is Queensbridge in the background and his face kind of coming through that, more than him being a child or a baby, you know. Right. So you got it's totally different. It's nothing.
Bridge, you got nothing, or what you got?
I got nothing, but I think that the Nas album cover did influence album covers in the future. I think that Nas album cover was a big influence on anybody who does that type of album cover now is influence, or they're trying to pay homage to Nas. But the big at the time, no, I didn't see that, and it definitely was it was a reach by Ray and Ghost.
Trey, what about you?
Nothing to see here, man.
Nothing to see.
Nothing to see here.
All right, JR, what about you?
Keep it moving. Nothing.
Nothing to see. All right. Now, with this question, we just need a yes or no answer. Really, it's just a number. I heard Eddie Embry say, moving forward, if someone took the Illmatic, because we've seen artists do that. Is there a certain number of years? Because remember, with Run D, we just said that if it's the same genre, you can't use the same album cover because it's biting. The whole reason they got the pass, Beat Miners, was because it was Roy Ayers, jazz, hip hop. We just said Jazzy Jeff biting, King of Rock album cover was biting. Is that because it was too? So an artist comes out now, 20 years. Oh, what's 20 years? 94, 2014 comes out, and they do the Illmatic cover. Are we gonna say that's paying homage, or are we gonna stand on that was biting? And is there a certain, like, what's the statute of limitations? Because the whole premise was you can't take a hip hop album and do the same cover. So are we gonna say after 20 years you could do it, and we'll give you homage? Or what is your time limit? Or is there a time limit? Porsche, just give me a number. Or there's no time limit. You don't give a fuck if it's 100 years later.
I just wanted to give you a sentence. Like it's not as clear cut for me, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be something. Like it's either biting or homage, depending.
All right. But if it's homage,
but it's something. It's not like it's a statute of limitations and it's gone. No.
But is the homage based off of a time limit? Because we just said you can't bite a hip hop album cover for another hip hop album cover.
Okay, so this is I was just trying to keep it short, but I'm just gonna. I'll be really quick.
Keep it short. Anybody who got to go, it's gonna be a long night. Anybody who got to bail, I got it. Early night. I understand. Take your time. That's me being a bad host. I'm like, everybody, just give me a minute. Just go at it. We just be here all night.
I'll be really quick. It depends on the album that you're trying to pay homage to or bite. So for something like Illmatic, just for the status that it has in hip hop, it'll forever be biting, and there's no statute of limitations on that. So it could come out in, I don't know, 2050. It'll still be biting, and it's not going to be homage. It's still going to be biting for me, just because of the status of that album. That's all.
Oh, so okay. So for you, it's based off of what album cover you're biting.
Yes, it depends on the album, and I say that with an asterisk because there aren't many albums in hip hop that have the status of Illmatic, but we know people swear, like people literally are like, Illmatic breathes life into the lifeless. Like it is just some weird. Like,
they said Illmatic is Jesus. He's the father to the fatherless. Like you don't got a father. You listen to Illmatic.
But this is how people treat the album, and I don't.
I see what you're saying.
I don't think there's any other album that does that. If there is, then yes, it would fall under the same umbrella. So for right now, Illmatic is like an anomaly or whatever.
So of course, right now, if me and you made an album, we can't do the Paid in Full. We can't recreate the Paid in Full album cover with Gucci suits with me and you.
Right, that would be biting. I would be against that. Yeah.
Okay, we can't do a Public Enemy. It Takes a Nation of a Millions with like you in the front.
Jail cells. No.
Okay, no jail. Okay, cool. All right.
No standing at the window with the gun like KRS.
No BDP, Malcolm X.
No,
okay,
no.
Okay. All right. So are there any limits? Is everybody on board with that? Or Eddie?
Hold on. I have an example though. I have an actual example that happened that I didn't think was biting. I thought it was paying homage. So the Jean Grey and Ninth Wonder Genius album, they did 4 separate covers. One was they did the Das Effects cover, they did the Black Sheep cover, they did the Cuban Links cover, and then they did the It Takes a Nation of Millions cover. 4 separate covers. That was clearly paying homage because they did 4 separate covers, but then they also had a 5th cover, which was just Genius in a black background, right? So to me, that was obvious. They weren't trying to take it just to kind of take it. It was a clear intent to pay homage to those classic hip hop albums that influenced them.
See, and I think the hard part with that is that everybody's going to take that different. So like I can't say that that's their clear intent. Like when I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm not listening to that shit based off of the covers because I was like, that shit whack, and I'm not even gonna listen to it.
Oh my God.
But to me, like, but that's the difference. Like you took it as it was paying homage, but to me, that's not clear. And it was the same thing with Briz, where Briz was like, I would have looked at the cover like, yo, what the hell? I looked at the cover like, oh snap, like that's good. So again, it's just really about how each of us takes that. Because the second I see you take an album cover that's somebody else's album cover, like I think it's whack. Like I'm just like, you know, again, I think like we said before, if you're taking it from another genre, that's cool. I do it all the time. A lot of my album covers are based off of Blue Note album covers because I love Blue Note album covers. You know what I mean? But I would never design a cover. I just think, in my opinion, we have to come up with another way of paying homage to people. Like, to me, if you want to pay homage to somebody, put me on a goddamn track and give me a paycheck. How about that? Like, that's the way you could pay homage to me. Like, don't take a verse. If you fuck with me and hook me up. Give me a verse on your album if we paying homage. Like, don't do Genius's album, don't do Jizz's album cover, put Jizz on your album. But again, that's just me. So I'm not saying your way is right or my way is or nobody's is wrong. It's just how, you know, for me, I'm just totally against you recreating the I mean, Trey, do you want somebody doing the theme part 2 in 25 years? Like, or would you be like, nigga, put me on the track? Like, as an artist.
It depends. You know what I'm saying? It really depends. I give you an example, like when Jada and what's the boy name? They did the theme a couple years ago. They did like a mixtape version. It was Jada Kiss and it was I forgot the boy's name. He nice though. You know, just based on the proximity of me knowing Jada, it felt like a slight, you know, because I came in the game with Jada. You see what I'm saying? I was a little bit before, but we was in the same circle. So that phone call could have been made. But if had it been a young boy that I don't know who that is, and he just liked the record and, you know, just out of ignorance, just was like, I'm a freestyle on the joint, hey, shoot your shot. You know what I'm saying? Because you didn't know. Now maybe you'll do some research and somebody will get in your ear, you know, that's Trey Lee. And then all of a sudden there's an introduction there and now we bridging the gap. So it depends. You know what I'm saying?
Right. All right. Makes sense. It makes sense. All right. Last one. When Jay-Z quotes Big, I don't want to say all the time because I y'all know me for my marriage coach, and I never say always and never. 2 words I try to never use. When Jay uses a lot of big rhymes in his verses, is that paying homage or is that biting? For me, for years it was paying homage. I felt until one time there was some Jay freestyle or I don't even know if it was an official song, but he said like something like, "Who's the king of New York? It's no biggie," or something like that. He said it's something very witty like that. And I heard that and I kind of took it as a slight, like the king of New York, no biggie. And it's like, but you say Big's rhymes every chance you get. So up to that point, I felt like it was homage. That's his man. They was cool. Kind of like, to me, what Trey was saying about, but here's the difference. Slick gave Dana permission to do that. So for me, for years, it was just like they knew each other. You know, to me, maybe it would have been different if Jay was from Queens, never did songs with Big, never hung with Big, whatever. So for me, for years, it was paying homage until I felt like that was like a slight at Big with that, I'm the new king of New York, no biggie. You know, J.O. say it was just being witty, but when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's damn, bro. Like, word? Porsche, biting, influence, paying homage.
I know what she's going to say.
I already know what she's going to say. This is for the people who don't know Porsche.
I have to put a disclaimer. Jay-Z, I love Jay-Z. He's my number 5 all time. Like, greatest of all time. He's at number 5. He'll never move from that spot. He's a biter. He is a biter. Come hell and high water, this man is a biter. And I wish I could defend him and say, no, it was homage, but this guy's got the pedal to the metal, like Trey said, and he's not easing up. Or hadn't eased up for a while. Maybe he eased up in the later years, like I'd say in the last like 5 years or whatever, but for a very long time, he was straight taking, and it wasn't even just, oh, it sounded like, it was like verbatim, and then changed like a the or a an, you know, and pretended like, and then all his stands.
He paused longer to put a comma.
Yeah,
He added
exactly.
a comma.
And then his stands run with that. Well, he didn't say the when Biggie said like that, and all this kind of stuff. Like, miss me with it. He's a biter. So that's me.
All right, bro. What about you? Biter, homage.
And this is not to take away from Jay. He's one of the greatest of all time, but he that's biting. It's biting because
disclaimer.
It's biting. Right.
You gotta put out a disclaimer that Jehovah's Witnesses gonna be on your
Yeah.
team.
I don't want nobody.
You gotta be like, before I say anything about Jay on Twitter, I'm like, just y'all can read the article. He's my number 2 greatest MC ever. So there you go. Okay, but so Rel, that's biting.
That's biting for a couple of reasons. For one, he did it so much that a lot of it was unnecessary. Like it was like, dog, like he'll start his whole verse off with 6 straight big bars. Like, come on, dog. Like, so for that reason, and then for another reason, he has a history of doing similar things.
Yeah.
If you're from Philly, you know that when he got down with State Property and them, he took Young Chris' whole flow, bro. Like,
Talk about it. Talk about
Chris's
it.
flow, he took it. He took it and ran with it all the way to the bank. He took that flow. If you from Philly and you've been listening, I mean, we got 2 other people from Philly on here. Y'all know he took that flow. And even with him going from the fast rapping to slowing it down, he was influenced by someone and to do so. So he has a history of doing it. That doesn't make him less of a legend, an artist, but we're gonna call a spade a spade. That big thing was biting. The stuff with Young Chris was biting. He just has a way of being a chameleon. And it's another artist that I'm gonna bring up later on that is the same way.
It's
so
funny
I say
you said that. You said that about Chris, because I'll never forget when me and my wife was listening to Song Cry. She from Harlem, and he's like, you don't do a nigga like that. You don't just wake up and leave a nigga sick like that. And she was like, yo, that's Beans. Like, she automatically was like, that's Beans right there.
You can tell.
Like, I mean, but it was even shocking to me that she said it so quickly, because this is our first time listening to the Blueprint, and I remember we in the whip, and her face just scrounged up like, that's Beans. Like, so crazy. All right, Eddie, homage biting, what is it?
Oh, it's definitely biting because he's egregious with it. But I want to bounce off of Rel since that was Jay was on.
Trey, when you come on this show, man, people bring out them lawyer words. Eddie say it's egregious. This is not fucked up. It's egregious. I never heard Eddie say that word.
Edward, I'm proud of you.
So check this out. Since, thank you, Trey. That means a lot. So I want to bounce off of Rel since I had that Young Chris thing on my list, but I had a quote from PD Crack from an interview where he said, I want to clarify that Jay doesn't steal anyone's songs. He steals swag, idea, concepts. Jay doesn't straight up jack you for a song. He's smooth with it. You ever listen to Young Chris rap and then go back and listen to Jay? You almost start to scratch your head. The old Jay-Z never rapped like that. Jay has no swag of his own. So there it goes. And, the same thing with everyone else that he surrounded himself with. Like, and the funny thing about that, after I read this, I started thinking about Jay's persona in the music and in videos, and then Jay in an interview is totally different. Like how reserved he is, how more soft-spoken he is, and you know what I mean? So it's like I read that about him jacking people's swag. I'm like, damn, that kind of makes sense.
You know the funny thing about that, Eddie, is I saw this documentary on Jay-Z, and after I finished watching it, I felt like he reminds me of Marlo from The Wire. And what I mean by that is that Marlo would get close to you, learn from you, and then kill you. It's like, I'm going to learn from Fat Prop Joe, then I'm going to get rid of you. I'm going to learn from this person, then I'm going to get rid of them. And I'm going to just, and to me, that's like Jay. It's like, okay, now I got this style. Okay, fuck State Property. Okay, I was on with Jazz. Like, You don't see Jay still cool with any of the people he ran with throughout these years, but Tata. Like, that's the only person who like still standing. Is like Tata and Blue Ivy. Like, you know, that's it. Like, and I'm just wondering if that's it. Like, it's like, you know, you don't see him fucking with Clark Kent. You don't see, it's like you have your season with Jay, and then he's gonna move past you, and then that's just it. So that's a yeah.
Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat takes everyone.
Yeah. Take everyone. Yeah.
That nigga Rogue from the X-Men. He just gonna hang around you, touch you, and just take your style right out of you, and you ain't never gonna hear from young Chris again because he done lost all his powers. That's gonna be our new nickname for Jay, Rogue. That way people won't even know who we talking about, so the stands won't come for us. So we just be like, you know, that new Rogue song, and people gonna be like, Rogue? We like, yeah, y'all know about that. So Rogue. Briz, biting, interpolation, whatever
when he was first doing it, the first question I had was, why is he taking all Big's rhymes? You know what I'm saying? Like, Big gone. Like, why is it now that he gone, you taking his flow? And I agree with you on some things, Kill. Like, I remember that freestyle where he says no Biggie. You know what I mean? And I also remember him. This is the contradiction of him, because like everybody here, like, he's one of my favorites. You know what I mean? He said when he had that one freestyle, and he said, you know what I mean, dead or alive, when I see you got answers for me. He was talking about, I feel like he was talking about Pac. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody was talking about how whether Pac was alive or dead and all that. I just remember that and thinking, yo, that was some sucker move, because Pac gone, Big gone, and like he's like taking the place of these people. You know, he's like filling the vacuum, but he's using their essence to fill the vacuum. So I remember that emotionally thinking about it, like, damn, he taking Big, why he taking that? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, you know, to kind of try to justify it years later, saying, you know, I'm big enough to it. That's, you know what I mean? That's crazy.
I'm bigging up my brother.
Yeah, I'm bigging up my borough. I'm big enough to do it. I'm that thorough.
Right.
You know, that's a defensive. That's something in your conscience talking to you. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Gerald, what about you? Biting?
Oh, he's biting. Oh, absolutely. And when y'all brought in about his style in the beginning, and then he changes his style, and then once he started using big rhymes, and like you said, Song Cry, when I heard that, I was like, that's Beans. I was like, that ain't no Jay. I was like, this dude will steal your swag and run with it. And I'm Brooklyn head, and I'm like, nah, dog, you got no swag at all. Look at his interviews. He's boring, like, for real. But then he get on the mic, and you be like, all right. But then when he's just like talking, you be like, this dude is boring. Like, he will take your swag on and run with it. So yeah, he is a biter. Period.
Trey, what about you?
Hey man, I've been listening to everybody, and it's definitely a slippery slope for me, because I don't. There's some unanswered questions here. I don't know exactly what the nature of their relationship was. You see what I'm saying? So if the nature of their relationship was really that tight, right, and they were just really like brothers, then I'm gonna lean more towards the side of it's not biting. You miss your man, and you want to pay homage to him every single chance that you get on every rhyme that you have. Now, with that being said, there is two. And Briz pointed it out, right? There's two lines, and I want clarification. Did he say I'm bigging up my borough or I'm bigging up my brother? Which one did he say?
I think he said both. He said, you know, I say a big verse, I'm only bigging up my brother.
I'm bigging up my borough. Yeah.
Big enough to do, but then he comes back and say, I'm big enough to do it. See, that's the juxtaposition here. You're bigging up your brother, but then you in the same term say, I'm big enough to do it. What does that mean? You see what I'm saying? What does that, you got to think about that. So why would you say I'm big enough to do that? Like, you know what I mean?
See, I know for me, when I heard the verse, I thought he was saying like, yo, only I could do that. Like, I'm big enough. Like, only I can, nobody else can say that but Big, because that was my people's or whatever.
And that's fair. But then the opposite side of that is, nigga, I can do that.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
I can do that. You see what I'm saying?
You get away with it, yeah.
Right. So when you start thinking about it like
That's
that,
why he's one. That's why he's my favorite.
but see, but that's one thing that I'll never take away from Jay. That boy is clever.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
very, very smart,
Absolutely.
very, very astute with this shit. And if you're not careful and you don't pay attention, you will think whatever it is or whatever direction he wants you to think. But we're talking to astute people here, so we can kind of read between the lines. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so again, it's a slippery slope. This is one of them things where I really have to be in the room. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
With them too, at the time when Big was alive, to understand exactly what this shit is. You know what I'm saying?
Trey, that's like I take the entire concept of glory and then I'm like, oh, Trey is one of my favorite people, and you are in the entire world, and I'm just bigging up my brother. I'm bigging up Trey. This is what I want to do. Like, if you hit me with a lawsuit, I'm gonna come right back at you, because that's just homage.
You know what's funny about that, Porsche? Because I be in these internet streets, man, and I see people. I will never say I'll take all this shit to the grave with me. But I've seen, since I dropped that album, what has transpired with a lot of motherfuckers.
Right.
And they'll never admit it, and I will never bring it to the forefront. But I see. You see what I'm saying?
Hold that. We gonna talk about that off camera. We gonna talk about that. All right. So we are an hour in off of just icebreakers. So let's do me a favor.
Is crazy.
Yeah, I have, like I said, I haven't been this hyped for a show in a long time. And because I think all our shows are dope, but like I said, this is one of those shows where you will talk yourself out of your own opinion. Like, and that you rarely see people talk themselves out of what they think. So that's very rare. So that's why I'm so excited. All right. I'll start this off. To me, and what we're gonna do is just go through one influence and one biting that you have seen in your life. For me, influence. Pete with the echoing horns. For everybody out there, I have to remember people watch this show. I'm not just talking to y'all. So for people out there, Pete Rock, 93, 94-ish, echoing horns on the SP1200 multi-pitch. He would just echo the horns. Pete was one of the first people, if not the first, to find out on the Akai S950 that you could filter bass line, so that you could take all the highs out of a sample and it would just be a bass line under that. So everybody was doing that. Like Primo, just off the top of my head, Crooklyn Dodgers, Primo had echoing horns. You know what I mean? On Keep It Moving off of Smith & Wesson, the Beat Miners had echoing horns. Hell, the whole Beat Miners, everything about them is filtered bass lines. You know, if you listen to Jay-Z's Dead Prez, everybody was using filtered bass lines and echoing horns. To me, that was an influence, because almost just like Guy JR, you would notice. I hate when I have the person. There was, I don't even want to bring it up because I'm a butcher of everything, and then people on Twitter going, well, fuck it, I don't care. My whole New Year's resolution is to give less fucks this year. So there was a bass player, and I can't remember who he was, but they did this documentary on funk, and they were saying that he was the key. He was the one who started thumping the bass, and because he was playing the bass like
you talking about Chuck Rainey?
Graham. Larry Graham. I want to say.
Oh, Larry Graham. Oh, yeah.
He was the one who started plucking the bass. And then Marcus Miller, they had all these other bass players who came on and said, Joe, we heard that, and we ran right in the house, and we all started trying to figure out how to do that. I didn't look at that as biting. I looked at it as an influence. This is a new way to play an instrument. So for me, all those people who use filtered bass lines and echoing horns I feel like that's influence. I have a book that's over here somewhere. If it is, this book right here, SP1200. It's a whole book about the SP1200, everything about it. 90% of people in this book said, I brought an SP1200 because I looked on the back of the main ingredient and saw Pete Rock had one. So I brought one. Were these people biting? No, they just heard what Pete Rock was making and said, well, whatever he's making, that's what I want to make. It's like, to me, it's almost like a cook. What kind of skillet do you use? Oh, you use a such and such skillet? Bet. Let me get a such and such skillet because the food you make is good. So to me, that's influence. Biting, to me, I don't know if y'all remember this group. They were called the Flatliners. And it was around the time when the Gravediggers had came out. The Gravediggers came out first. That was RZA, Prince Paul, Fuqua from Stetsasonic, and Poetic, R.I.P. to Poetic. They came out with horror rap, and they were the Gravediggers. The next thing you know, here comes this group called the Flatliners. Signed to Def Jam. This was Russell Simmons' nephew.
Yeah.
One of the group's names was Gravedigger. I mean, his name in the group was Gravedigger. It was Red Rum, Gravedigger, and Tempest. And it was the exact same thing. To me, that was biting. This is, okay, you got a hardcore group, we got a hardcore group. To me, that was biting. So that's an example of what I felt like was an influence and what was a straight up bite. Porsche, what about you? What is an example of an influence and a straight up bite for you?
Okay, a straight up bite for me is is I can't remember dude's name, but Diet Ghost and
Action Bronson.
Action Bronson.
Action
Sorry.
Bronson.
Yeah.
Diet Ghost. Now you know he done lost like 150 pounds, so he really is like he's slim.
Diet Ghost. So to me, I know I've had arguments about this forever, but I personally think when I first heard Action Bronson God so many years ago, I like literally was like, since when? Like, what Ghostface joint is that? Like, I haven't heard that. And people are like, that's not Ghostface. That's this guy. And I was like, what? Like, he literally copied Ghost's entire cadence, his entire like way of delivery, his flow, everything. So to me, that's the biggest bite that sticks out and will forever be a bite. Although people say that he can't control his voice, he can't control the flow, I think he can. I don't think people are born rappers. I think you learn rapping, and I think you develop a way about yourself. And I think that you can hear something and mimic it. And I think that that's what he did. And then eventually it fused to be his style. So to me, that's a straight up bite. An influence, and I'm going to kind of slash that with homage, is Snoop doing Lottie Dottie with Slick Rick. It's my favorite when Slick Rick does it. It's also my favorite when Snoop does it. And it's because he does it so well. And he really, and I think at the beginning in the intro verbiage says this is for Slick Rick, like that. This is for my brother Slick Rick or whatever he says. So you know that and it's a one-off. He doesn't always do it. So to me, that's my favorite. That's my favorite homage influence thing ever. So.
All right, no doubt. Rel, biting. Give me an example of biting. An example of influence.
So when you sent me this topic, I wrote down some stuff. And all of them have question marks because I don't know. I would need help with what y'all would think. What y'all think?
I feel you.
So I'll start with Das Effects, right? And I'm gonna go from a whole nother angle. Not their flow, not the Iggy, not none of that. The whole sewer thing. When that Day One Effects album came out and they were like in the sewer. I remember I saw Lords of the Underground's first video and they were in the sewer. I thought they was biting. I'm like, because their first video was song was Psycho or something like that. They were in the sewer. And then I would see other people's video, they're in the sewer. I never saw nobody like in the sewer before Das Effects. Even the Down with the King video was in the sewer. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm like, where are they getting it? Like, no one was talking about that before Das Effects. Like, that wasn't like a thing. You know what I'm saying? And these are groups that I like. And I'm like, where did that come? You know what I'm saying? I attributed it all to Das Effects. I don't know if that's biting or if that's an influence. I don't know what y'all think.
It's funny because Lords of the Underground got that line when you say something like, y'all thought it was Das, it didn't affect me. Like, yeah. I think it's a funny child where he says something like, you thought it was Das and it didn't affect me. Or something like that. So that was a spinoff on Das Effects. I thought it was Das, it didn't affect me, or whatever like that. So I don't know, Porsche, biting or homage with the sewer, everybody going to the sewer.
To me, that's biting. I mean, it's just so random. Like it's not like
I don't think I ever thought about it that before. Like, shit, Down with the King was in the sword. Like, I'm just like, oh shit. Like, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about how many.
If it was a stage, if it was somewhere a little bit more common, I would be like, okay, it could potentially be influenced. But a sewer, like that's not. Nobody's sitting there thinking, oh, I think we should go into the sewer. Like, and then all of a sudden, it's just everybody's randomly coming up with this. They definitely.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Like the
I have to
sewer.
agree with Rel. I have to agree with Rel.
Right. And what's your second one, Rel?
This is slightly before my time with hip hop. Not really, but I remember my older cousins. This was an argument, and maybe Trey Lee can help kill you because y'all a little bit older than me. Granddaddy IU and Big Daddy Kane. I heard some dudes, I'm from uptown in Philly, so I'm at Prince Hall. I don't know if y'all know Prince Hall at. I'm at Prince Hall, and they're arguing about this. I'm a kid, so I really don't know, but the arguments was that he was biting, and then it was arguments that it was just, they were just similar. He was influenced by it. So that was one that came to my mind. Maybe y'all could shed more light on that.
I would have said more Rakim than Kane because of delivery. You know what I'm saying? I never saw IU, even though, all of that was jumbled around the same time. I never saw IU like Kane. I saw him, again, and I think Ra influenced a lot of people subconsciously, and I'll save that for mine later, but Ra influenced a lot of people around, like from 86 to about 89, 90. Like that was Rakim. That was Rakim. You know what I'm saying? Like he ushered in a whole new shit. Mm-hmm. And so I thought IU was a part of that ushership. You know what I'm saying, if you will.
This is what I'll say about that situation. And I think I always talk about the same way as a Christian, you talk about BC and AD, before Christ and after death. I talk about straight out of Compton and post straight out of Compton. Straight out of Compton, to me, if you was biting somebody's style, you was biting somebody's style. That was your decision. Post straight out of Compton is when record labels started to say things like, you know what, DOS is blowing up. We are shooting your video in the sword. Like, you have no say because that shit is blowing up. We're shooting it in the sword. And the reason I'm going to say that out, one of my favorite books, Going Off, this is all about the Juice Crew. Very dope book. In the book, it talks about Kane leaving the Juice Crew and them needing to replace him. So Biz signed Granddaddy IU, and they trying to replace him with Kane, hence Big Daddy Kane, Granddaddy IU. Because in the book, and I've gotten to this conversation with people on the timeline, I'm like, Granddaddy IU, the thing I love about this book is it's not a writer writing it. It's like in an interview style. So Granddaddy IU is telling you this. So it's not like, well, who's the author? Who's the...
I was about to say, Kill, I'd do you one better. I heard that from IU himself on a conversation on a phone call maybe about 3 weeks ago. He said exactly.
So that's the thing. So I think the difference between... And people think I'm joking, y'all. Somebody watch, y'all better give me a fucking book deal or a TV show. Like, for real, y'all. Stop this shit. Because nobody else is breaking hip hop down like on some pre and post straight out of Compton. That is really a divide in hip hop. That's a huge divider of where things went from me looking at Trey being like, yo, I want to be like Trey, and then post straight out of Compton, the label that I'm signed to saying, no, nigga, you gonna be like Trey.
Right.
And you're signed to me, so you gotta do this. So that may be the thing with that. They wanted Big Daddy. It was a mixture of both. They tried. That's why the Genius, who was signed to Cold Chillin'. People forget about Genius was signed to Cold Chillin'. That's why his first song was like on some lady shit, because they was like, yo, we need you to replace Big Daddy Kane. So get in there. You're dark skinned. You got the high top braids or the high top fade. You get in there and you become the ladies' man like Kane was. So between Genius and Granddaddy IU, Cold Chillin' was trying to replace Big Daddy Kane because he was leaving the label. So again, Genius was like, this ain't me. You know what I mean? IU was like, this ain't what I want to do. But again, you're signed to the label and you get what you got. So that, to me, that's it. It was biting, but I can't put that on IU or Genius because I don't think neither one of them wanted It was just the record
wanted
label,
to do that shit.
the record label saying you got to replace Kane. But
Right.
no call.
I appreciate that because I really
no call.
needed some insight.
But everybody
on
out there, y'all know me and Portia, Hip Hop Bookworms. This is a dope book.
Very
Literally, I literally took notes in this book like I was in college. Is that much information in this book? Dope book. Eddie, what about you? What's one of your influences and one of your straight up and down bites?
So influence is kind of an obvious one, I guess, but will be Ice-T being influenced by Schoolie D. You know, he's been very vocal about that being his influence, and I think even much so where when he's credited as, you know, being the godfather of gangster rap, he points that back to Schoolie D. He's like, nah, you know, I was influenced by him. So,
Right.
you know, I think it's dope when people admit those things and don't just try to take all the credit for themselves, you know? So,
Trey, I think you
that's
said
dope.
something like that earlier, right? That was one of your things, like when you're biting, it's malicious, but if it's, you know, so right, that's a great example because Ice-T could have easily just been like, nah, man, I pioneered this shit. And it's like, nah, like we gonna respect Schoolie on that. Dope pick. What you got for the biting, straight up and biting?
So the straight up biting, I got a question mark, but I still want to bring this up because I think I'm gonna get interesting reactions to it. I was kind of teetering. Was Ja Rule biting Tupac? And there's a lot there, and it sounds weird, but so
No, it
the
doesn't.
whole swag, right? The whole swag. Ja Rule coming out, no shirt, you know, got the bandanas on, you know, totally Tupac thing, and then like the tone of his voice, and even down to him doing the melodic thing in the songs. Not saying Tupac was melodic, but kind of the way he needs to elongate some of his, you know, words like the enemies, Hennessy, you know, you could kind of make that argument, you know? So I feel like Ja Rule totally swagger jack Tupac.
I agree.
I laugh because Ja Rule is like the little annoying brother that tries to be cool and is just such a scrawny little kid that you're just like, get out of here. You don't even pay him any mind. Like I can't even compare the two. Even if he had a thug life,
I see what Ed's saying. Like I remember coming out with the bandana around the front and everything. I think it was a street
silly. I think it's just comedic. I wouldn't even put that as biting or influence. I just think that's funny because Ja Rule's such a dork. Like, I don't know.
Nah, I'm with you, Ed. I got biting on that. Rel, you got what you got on that?
Oh my god.
On Ja with the Pac thing, I think it was biting. I think it was not done well, and I think that's what makes it so funny, because it didn't go over well. Like if DMX would have tried it, it might have went over. You know what I'm saying? Like Ja Rule, you looking at it didn't go over well. Even though like we give Ja a hard time, he had a really strong run. It wasn't.
He had a strong radio.
It wasn't
run.
necessarily what I was listening to, but
he had
a strong radio.
He
run.
made great. Yeah, he made great records.
He made good music. I think his first album, the Vinny Vetti, I think that album's okay. That album's all right. It's not bad, but I do agree with Eddie. It was. You could see it. It just wasn't done well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what makes it kind of comedic.
Right. Briz, what you think?
With the John Pac thing, the swag, total. He jacked Pac's appearance. You know what I mean? Maybe not so much
the content,
the content, but definitely the image of. You know what I mean? Was a Tupac image.
Right. JR, biting
for sure.
Trey, biting.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, no doubt. Trey, you can keep going, Carol. Keep going. Keep it moving. All right, Briz, what's the example biting influence for you?
All right, so I'll go with influence first. 3 6 Mafia and their flow influenced Migos.
They influenced the entire Atlanta sound.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Influence definitely. And then for biting, Migos, everybody that's come out after the Migos. And you know what? If you want me to get like super direct with it, Drake, one of his first singles right after his collaboration with the Migos was Jack and They Flow. 100%. And because of the power of Drake, it then became a trickle. It then trickled out and rippled out to the rest of every other rapper that's come out since.
Right.
Now, I guess what happens is, my question is, maybe a good question for the group is, at what point does it then become where you're not jacking the Migos, but you are influenced by the Migos?
Can I respond?
Yeah, please.
You know, I know, Kill, you work with a lot of the youth. I do as well. So I hear a lot of stuff that's like recent, even though I wouldn't listen to it. I think one other person that kind of gets overlooked that has influenced a lot of these dudes is coming up now and after him was Chief Keef.
Mm-hmm.
When Chief Keef came out with that drip, that type of music, like if you listen to a lot of these young guys coming up now, like that whole flow and that drill type, they even have New York drill. Well, that started with Chief Keef and them in Chicago. Like, and I think, and I agree with the Migos as well. Like, you listen to a lot of these songs and they sound exactly the way they're rapping. They sound exact. You can't tell this person from that person. And my students, they're like, oh, you know, coach, listen to this, and I'm like,
no.
Who? I mean, he sound like the dude you played for me yesterday. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, that's a part of the trilogy. You said Migos, you said Chief Keef, and Future. That's the trio. That's the trio right there. Mm-hmm. Everything else, they are the root, and everything else up to now are the branches of that shit.
Right. But I think too is that, again, this generation, they don't care nothing about biting, because this generation, as an individual, you just want to make money. So you're the same way the label in the 90s was, we just want to make money, so we're going to make you do whatever's popular. Now you as the individual is just saying, I want to make money, so I'm going to do whatever is popular. So, you know, we're not living in an age, these kids aren't being raised to be original. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm with you, bro. Like, I had some kids in my car and they play me some stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, man. You know, they all do, every song sound the same. It's like, Mr. Kill, we played you 5 different artists. And I'm like, get the fuck. I'm like, yo, stop. You trying to tell me these people don't sound alike to you? And they're like, nah, you can't tell them apart. I'm like, it's this, everything is the same. But so again, great point, Briz. JR, I want to hear about you. Tell me somebody in R&B who's a biter, like straight up and down.
Okay, I'm gonna say a song.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say "Oh Sheila" from Ready for the World. Y'all know that was a bite from Prince. Period. It was a complete bite. That wasn't nothing. It wasn't nothing you could do. When you heard that song, you was like, it sounded like Prince. Period. That was a straight bite. Now, as far as influence, I can say when I hear production from Raphael Saadiq, I hear his influence from Curtis Mayfield. Period. I can hear it all through him. Like when I listen to Instant Vintage, I can hear Curtis and Roots all through that album like crazy. So that's an influence. And when he talks about it, he's like, yo, I'm influenced by him. So I get that. You know what I'm saying? But like when you heard Ready for the World, Oh Sheila, you was like, come on, really? You know what I mean? Like it was just like, it couldn't get no more biting than that.
That was,
you know what I'm saying? And there's an interview out there with even and they took it offline, but it was like they asked Prince about it, and Prince just gave him a look like, y'all really gonna ask me this? Y'all know Prince is like the king of shadiness, period. So he gave him a look like, y'all really want to do this? Like, all right. You know what I mean?
It's funny you said Saadiq with Curtis Mayfield, because the joint moving on down the line off of this joint, like I'm like, that could have literally been on the Superfly soundtrack. I'm like,
it really could have.
That is Priest walking down the block, everything. So that's a good.
Or like when you're thinking about thinking of you off the House of Music,
right?
You know that sounds like Curtis. Like you can't deny that. But again, that's his influence of him. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right.
that's why, for me, I think Raphael is completely influenced by Curtis.
Hey,
All right.
JR, can I ask you a question real quick? My fault.
Yeah, yeah.
How prevalent is biting in R&B? Is it as prevalent as it is in hip hop?
It's not, and that's why I was gonna say with my next one, it's really hard because again, when it comes to R&B, a lot of our artists get songs sent to them. Just like I was gonna say with Natalie Cole and Aretha. Her first album, a lot of those songs was given to Aretha first, but Aretha didn't take it. But if you listen to those songs, you'll be like, I can hear Aretha on this. Makes sense. And then when you got the industry saying, oh, she's the new Aretha Franklin, that's gonna piss Aretha off because it's like, I had those songs first. She biting on me. You know what I mean? So it's really hard when it comes to R&B for real. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta pick like songs like again, Ready for the World was an obvious choice for a biting. That just like biting, but it's really hard. It's like, yeah, this person can be influenced, but it's like a question mark sometimes.
Okay.
All right. No doubt. Let me get Trey back in here. Trey Lee, what you got for yours, good brother?
All right. So influence, other than Rakim to me, and probably even about neck and neck. Influence on some of the giants in the game in the industry of hip hop. Single most influence is Kool G Rap.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kool G Rap has birthed some of from the Nas's to the Black Thoughts to the Eminems to the Big Puns to the double and triple syllables. Anything that you hear now, all that shit came from G Rap.
Yep.
All that
That's
shit.
a fact. That's a fact.
All that
That's a
shit.
fact.
I'm learning that now.
That's a fact.
Oh,
Trey,
you
you're on
muted.
mute.
We can't hear
You
you.
on mute? You on mute, Trey?
Mute.
Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't hear y'all. What the hell?
What?
Hold on. Let me.
He was preaching right
Yeah,
there.
he was going off. Damn.
Damn it.
He'll be back on in a second. Let me give another one real quick. We got him back that quick.
Yeah.
You good, Trey?
Yeah, my shit is bugging. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, G Rap, man, like he has influenced the game like so many people don't even understand from an MC perspective how he influenced the game. Like, so that's influence. Bite. Okay, so when we're coming off of that tribe, that strong tribe run right before we get into this West Coast shit, there's a pocket. You know what I'm saying? And there are three, you already named one. There are three individual or groups that just had everybody biting their whole shit. And that's Das Effect, that is Naughty by Nature, Tretch,
Mm-hmm.
and that is Onyx.
Mm.
Those three individuals
Ooh.
right in that pocket, everybody just bit they shit. Talking about
Mm.
the bald heads, talking about the grimy shit, talking about carrying around swords and machetes and all kind of other bullshit. You know what I'm saying? like and the iggities and the fast slow down, fast rap, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that shit. Everybody started fucking biting that shit up until when the West Coast came in and started their resurgence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Tretch and Naughty by Nature are very vastly underrated in history.
Yep.
And didn't Tretch come at JD saying he owed money for that jump shit? Didn't he say that in one of his songs?
Yeah.
Okay.
The funny thing about Tretch, I always say there was a time and point where he was a top 3 MC walking the planet Earth. You know what I mean? Like top 3 easily walking the planet Earth. And I don't think he gets his due because Naughty is known for their radio songs.
Mega
you know what I'm
hit.
saying? But even when you think about it's gonna be all right. That was a radio song, but yo, Tretch is spitting on that thing from beginning to end. You know what I mean? So when people tell me that, this just let me know you probably never heard Joke the Joker, you never heard Connections off the Jersey Drive soundtrack. Like you was a Naughty fan just for what you heard on the radio. You really never dived into it, anything like that.
And their styles were so distinctive that it had to be a bite.
Right.
There was no way around that shit. You know what I'm saying?
And it's funny, Trey, that you say that because for my next thing up, I have a group. The bite and straight up and down was a group called Hood Rats. and they had a song called Bootlegger, and they was just like Onyx. I mean, it literally oh my God, the name of the rappers were Dodo and Dingbat.
Okay, I'm done.
I am so glad
Yo.
they never made it to Canada.
Yo,
Okay, I'm done.
everybody out there watching, go to Google, go to YouTube, and put
I'm writing this down, Kill, for
put in the
real.
Hood Rats Bootlegger and get a good laugh for the night. Everything about them was Onyx. Every single thing, from the bubble vests, the bald heads, the
Everybody
hoodies.
started shaving their hair because
Yeah,
What's the song called? Bootlegger?
Is Bootlegger.
Okay.
And even how they spell things is BOOTLEGGA. So Bootlegger. Like
Stop.
everything.
Stop.
Because you know how Onyx spelled back the fuck up. It was BACDAFU. So
Mhm.
it was I mean, they tried to spell words the same.
Yo, I'm watching. This is terrible.
Yo,
This is
but
crazy. This is crazy.
Yo, man,
There you
there was no way around
There you
Wait
go.
a minute.
trying to even like like any of them groups, man. There was no way around that
But
shit,
the
man.
worst part, y'all, I'm just stuck on the names Dodo and Dingbat. Like you were supposed to come
Dodo
on the video show, and Donnie Simpson was supposed to sit on the couch and be like, "So Dodo and Dingbat, tell me about your new album." Like Dodo and Dingbat,
That really reminds me of the group that got in Brown Sugar.
Yes.
right? Like the Hip Hop
The Hip-Hop
Dalmatians.
Dalmatians.
Like you, this has got to be CB4. Like Dodo and Dingbat. This is a skit on Living Color, right?
Yes.
This has to be
Yo,
a
this
skit.
is
Irv
awful.
Gotti was their manager.
Well,
Irv Gotti was their manager.
and Irv Gotti's from Queens.
Doesn't
Onyx is
surprise
from
me.
Queens. It was
Of
just a
course he
whole.
was.
Yo, this
I mean,
is
again,
bad. Yo,
Remember
this
what I
Hold
said
on,
about
hold on,
remember
hold on,
what I
Ralph.
said
Hold on,
about the
Ralph.
Flatliners, that was
Hold-
Russell Simmons' nephew. So Russell saw the Gravediggers blowing up. It was like, we need something for Def Jam. We gonna sign my nephew, and y'all gonna be the Flatliners.
Wait a minute. That speaks that what Ralph just pointed out speaks volumes because we're gonna take it back to Ja Rule. You see what I'm saying? Irv Gotti's finding replicas.
Yes.
He's not,
that's
not
real.
finding
Yeah.
originality here. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
He's taking the blueprint and gonna try to blow up off of a blueprint. You see what I'm
But he
saying?
really went and found all the corny people to
Right,
go do this.
right,
They're
right.
all cornballs. Like, okay, let's get Ja Rule to be like,
Like he couldn't even do the JD. Like Jermaine Dupri, you know, he was excellent at that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He
Yes,
found what
was.
worked and then expounded on what worked. He was always the Burger King. He was always Pepsi. You know what I'm saying?
does anyone
He
know
was
if
never
Irv Gotti
Coke,
is
but the
friends
shit
with,
was
Drake?
successful. You know what I mean?
What happened?
No, I just said, is Irv Gotti the reason why Drake happened? Like, I just cornballs. I don't know. Like, I mean,
Oh yeah.
I can't call it. I can't call it. But yes, for everybody out there, you saw Rel's face in live time. Go look at the video, and you will see.
Yo, Rel, I just looked at it.
You saw it?
Here's the
It's
thing.
garbage.
For people out there who are younger and don't really know about Onyx and Hood Rats, go look at Onyx, Throw Your Guns video first, and then go to Hood Rats, Bootlegger, and you'll see what I'm talking about. My thing for influences, again, is sampling jazz samples. I felt like that was an influence because people say it was Tribe. I think it blew up after Tribe, but the first time I heard jazz was 88, Gangstar's Words I Manifest, Dizzy Gillespie's Night in Tunisia. You know what I mean? So, and before that, everybody was sampling James Brown. So I can't say that everybody who sampled James Brown was biting. That was just what we was doing in hip hop. We was all sampling James Brown. Then we all start sampling jazz. Then we all kind of start sampling a smorgasbord of everything. Then we went to the Swiss Beats era of just Tritons. Then we came out of that with the Blueprint, and that's when everybody was doing sped up soul. So, I mean, I could literally sit here and go through every genre that we went through from hip hop production, you know, all the way up to the sped up soul. So I wouldn't look at that as biting. It was just, okay, we're sampling jazz now. Okay, cool. We sampling jazz. Oh, we not sampling jazz no more. That's played out. Okay, what we sampling now type thing. So for me, that's influence. Porsche, what's another influence and biting for you?
So I have actually a question for the group in terms of what would you consider this to be, and that's because I've battled with this for quite a while, and I can't really make a call for myself. So I'm just wondering what other people think. Is Elzai's Elmatic homage, influence, biting? What is that? Because it's literally literally from cover art to track list to everything is almost the same.
Not the
in
cover
terms
Well,
art.
the cover
not
art, the cover art is different. The cover art is just
sorry,
some
the
shit
cover
on the
art's
couch.
different, but I think the font is the same. Am I
Right.
right?
I think
Okay,
you're
so
right.
so that makes the cover art look the same because the font will draw you in to a degree. So to me, like, I don't know. I kind of go back and forth with it. I'm like, well, it's influenced because he's really talking about like Detroit, but then it's biting because you literally copied like it's Illmatic. Like, it's just, I don't know. What do you guys think about that one?
I'm gonna come around the other end because Trey's always waiting until the end. So Trey, why don't you start and we'll go backwards. So what do you think about Elmatic and Illmatic?
I'm gonna give Elzar the benefit of the doubt because he is so nice. I gotta think that that's, you know, intentional, and it has to be an influence. I can't. If he wasn't that nice, then I think it's a bite. But it had to be an influential thing that Nas had on him, and he was just, you know, Elmatic. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna leave it at that. I could be totally wrong, but yeah.
Are you guys familiar with the track titles?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Genesis,
The track
Detroit,
titles.
State of Mind, Represent. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slide in because I can't go last because people always say what I want to say and I always go last. So I think the thing that makes this a little asterisk on it for me at least was because when I heard about it, I was like, that shit is whack. I'm totally against all hip hop remakes. I don't care who does it, what it is. I think the reason why this is over the top is because one, he took it and made it his own. And number two, he did it with a live band. I think the live band aspect adds so much to it because I wasn't expecting that. Because I'm like, so it's just a mixtape. He's just going to be rhyming over the same beats.
Right.
Or if you recreate the beats, the recreation of the beats aren't going to be dope. But the live band, so when you listen to it, or like you're listening to Life's a Bitch, and then the band goes into Yearning for My Love, like I just felt like it's well produced. And this is a great example. And forgive me for forgetting, but whoever the live band is, I'll figure it out by the time it gets back around. They deserve, to me, just as much, if not more, in my opinion, to making that album not just a bite and making it more than just being what it was. So for me, normally I would say no, but this, would you say, Ed?
Will Sessions.
Oh, Will Sessions. Will Sessions, to me, if you're giving 100%, Will Sessions got to get at least 50. I may give him 60 for me. Because Elzai killed it, but again, he's starting the rhymes off the same way, of course, because you have to, if you're doing that, you kind of have to say some of the same lines. But I think the band, so for me, it was homage, but namely because it was done very well. The presentation was exemplary. That's my lawyer word for the day, Trey. Exemplary. Okay. JR, what do you think?
I haven't heard what's the name's album, so I don't even want to say.
I'll send it to you tonight. So you can
cool.
Bridge, have you heard it?
It's a great album, but no, that's a bite for me. That's a bite.
Right.
Only because, like, I mean, I'm the biggest, probably big fan. I know every big bar line for line, but as an artist myself, like, I could remake Ready to Die tomorrow. You know what I mean? And people are gonna be like, and I could go get a band and do it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think that anybody would think. To me, it's just a bite. It's there's no disrespect to it. There's no disrespect intended. There's no
Riz, you keep making me change my damn mind, man. Now I'm like, fuck, is it a bite?
No, listen, like, there's no disrespect. Like, it's honorable in what he tried to, in what he did. You know what I mean? And I listened to it, but I listened to it with skepticism already. Like, I was like, no matter how good it's gonna be a cover. It's gonna be a Nas cover album. Like, you know what I mean? And that makes it a bite for me.
Fuck, Briz.
So
go ahead,
right.
man.
So I have a question though. Because obviously he switched the lyrics around and all that. Kill already addressed the whole thing with the band. He did a Detroit take. So Is cover albums not allowed in hip hop? Because obviously it's a thing with R&B, with cover songs, cover albums. Where I don't know if albums are a thing, but cover songs are definitely a thing in R&B. So with hip hop,
I'm with Briz now. It's a bite. I'm with Briz. It's a bite.
I feel like it's.
I don't want to put an asterisk on nothing because Eddie, everything you're saying, I'm totally against. I don't think you should do, because as soon as Briz said cover album, I'm like, you know what popped in my head? Weird Al Yankovic. And young kids out there ain't gonna know about Weird Al Yankovic. He just made fun of every song.
That was a parody.
He was a spoof. He was a parody. He was a spoof. Yeah. So as soon as you said cover album, I was like, oh, it's a bite. Here's the thing. It's a bite. It's a good bite, and I'm gonna talk about that. So I'm actually glad you said that, because I got a question at the end. Usually when we look at biting, it's something bad. Like you saw Rel's face for the hood rats. Like it's bad. At the end of the day, before we go off air, we're going to talk about, have there been any good bites? So yes, I will say
hell no.
Trey, I got something for you. I got a challenge for you.
Nope.
Okay.
I can't wait. He said no.
I do want to say there's one thing, because I've been leaning towards the Amish thing, but there's one thing that kind of rubs me wrong about Illmatic that makes me want to put it into bite, is that all of the fans, or the so-called fans, who like, oh man, that's Elzhi's best album, and it bothers me so much.
Don't get caught up in that. That's it. That's it, man. Don't get caught up in that. That had nothing to do with Elzhi's intent, man. Don't get caught up in that.
But here's the wild part, Trey. If you ask me, Kill, and I've heard not every, but I've heard like everything, like I guess prior to Lead Pencil. I've heard like at least 5 Elzhi albums. And if you ask me which is my favorite, I'm gonna tell you Illmatic. Here's the bad part about that. It's not really his album. You know what I mean? So I think for me, and this is just me, I think Elzhi is one of the most incredible MCs who has never made a complete album for me. Like, even when Briz was talking, it's like I had to ask myself, Kill, when's the last time you heard Illmatic? Probably 5 or 6, 7 years ago. I don't listen to it again. Like I heard it and I was like, oh, this is dope. And you know what I actually listened to more? I found the Will Sessions instrumentals. That's what I listen to even more than the actual album. You see what I'm saying? So I think that now I've changed. It's a bite. It's just a good bite. That's going to go on my good bite list. Trey, I got an album that I think you're going to like, that I think was a bite that I think you're going to like, but maybe not to look on this.
But I have to consider it a bite in order for me.
That is true. That is 100% true. Rel, bite or not, Illmatic?
I was leaning towards not being a bite, but I had question marks. But I would say it's a bite because it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. So he didn't have to do that. And I don't like, for someone so talented, like I got onto him late. You know what I'm saying? And it was through that. And that's not good. That's not that I got on to him through that album. You know what I'm saying? And for someone so talented, I shouldn't be, introduced to you, and that's the first thing that's said to me is that you remade Illmatic. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just unnecessary, and I think that's what steers me in a wrong way with that album.
What's up, Porsche?
Quick question to tack onto this: if he had done, like, let's say he had done like Detroit Was Written or some other, like, I don't know, like Elzhi Stradamus or something.
That's a
Elzhi Stradamus.
I'm just saying, if he had done,
that is a bite.
No, but if he had done,
but what's the difference with Illmatic?
Yeah, he did Illmatic instead of Illmatic. So what I'm saying is, if it was a different album in Nas's catalog,
a whole different album.
Yeah, and see, for me, it's across the board. I don't want nobody to come out 20 years from now with Plenty Faces, and redo Trey's album, and just make it a different title. But, yeah, Plenty Faces. I don't have many faces. I got plenty faces.
Yo,
it's literally because it becomes what you said with Brown Sugar. It becomes, Stevie and them had the girl is mine. We got the hoe is mine. Like Trey had many faces. I got plenty faces. Like Nas had Illmatic. I got Elmatic. Like it's coming to America. They got McDonald's. We got McDonald's. Like
this nigga said plenty faces though.
No, but it's same thing. Like I said, coming to America. They got the Big Mac. We got the Big Mick. So I mean, when you saw coming to America, you was like, oh, McDonald's. Like McDonald's. So yeah, it's a bite. I'm saying it's a bite. It's a bite.
Killer's gonna drop Killmatic, and that's gonna be the end of that. So
yeah, and I think what really put it over the top to me was when Briz said if he made Ready to Die tomorrow, and if he made Ready to Die tomorrow, he would get killed.
Yeah.
And one time me and Yao were on here going back and forth about biting, and Yao said it. He said, "I'm not big enough to do it," and it made me think back to what Trey was saying about Jay, meaning that when you have a certain stature, Elzhi could do that. And people could be like, I'll listen. But if it was just Briz, somebody who nobody ever heard of, if he did it, it's automatically whack. We're not even going to listen to it. We're not going to do anything.
Which goes back to, do we give passes to our favorites or people we know?
Then, of course we do.
That's what happens with Smith & Wesson, right? But no, it's different
with
genre.
The genre. We said the genre.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if Smith & Wesson was to do something, we heard it. People were like, "No, that's Smith & Wesson. Like, that's not a bite."
I did say that.
So that's called like creative license.
But it is like you said. But that's why I wanted to come back and say, no, it is a bite because you have to stand on something. So for me, it was a good bite because here's something else. Most people don't know. For Sean, Out of the Bay redid Illmatic too.
Oh, right.
He redid Illmatic too, but he was just rhyming over the beat. And my man sent it to me, and I really like him just rhyming over the beats. I couldn't even get through it. I was like, nah, I'm good. And think about it like this: who even knows about that? I mean, most people know about Illmatic. When I say that about Fashawn, people are like, first of all, who's Fashawn?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And then the other people are like, we ain't even know he did it. Here's the thing: Skyzoo did an ode to Reasonable Doubt. Do people know that he redid Reasonable Doubt?
Oh, I know. But see, that's what I'm saying, man. For me, disrespect is the word for me.
Yeah.
Like that's the main word. When I look at biting, I look at disrespect, man. You see what I'm saying? Like that's always been my mantra, and that I guess that comes from growing up in the 80s.
You went out again, Trey. We can't hear you.
Oh, he was good.
All right, Porsche. What's your influence? Because I know
my influence is going to be Genuine with When Doves Cry and Prince When Doves Cry. But that's just because to me that was just a one-off. He did it. I think Genuine's is good as well. But I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bite per se, but it was very similar. But it was a one-off, so I'm going to call it a influence.
All right,
cool. JR can disagree with me, which he is.
No. I agree with you with that. No. That's why it's hard when it comes to R&B covers. Like you can't really.
Yeah, like I wouldn't call it a bite. It's just not a bite.
I wouldn't call it a bite.
We're almost at the 2-hour mark, y'all. So I don't want to hold y'all much longer. So, Rel, what else you got left?
Okay, so for a bite, for a bite, it started out as an influence, but how it all played out, it became a bite. And I don't want to be a homer, but Lil Wayne before the Carter. Lil Wayne before the Carter was wobbly wobbly. I remember when the Carter one came out and people were talking about it was so good. And I said, really? And I listened to it and immediately I said, those Philly dudes that's on Cash Money right now, they influenced this because his whole flow changed. He was saying the bull and all. No other city says bull except Philly. And when him and Gilly started beefing or whatever, and he was denying that they had any influence, that's when it came a bite to me. Like, don't say that they wrote it for you, but you can at least admit that you were influenced because it's clear.
That's
you know
a
what I'm saying?
whole fact.
It's songs on the Carter 1 and 2 that sound like Gilly rapped it, the whole thing. I'm not saying he wrote it, but you took that whole, and let's not forget Dutch and Spade was on that label as well for a time. So that influence changed his whole career because before the Carter, Lil Wayne was not as popular. He was kind of an afterthought. He was a novelty. You know what I'm saying? After the Carter, he became this lyrical dude. We never looked at Lil Wayne as being lyrical, ever.
Fact. It's a whole fact.
So I have another bite, and this person is more so of a wave rider than just a biter, and that would be Drake. I believe Drake, if you come out with something new, Drake's getting on the remix, and then he's gonna take your shit and he's gonna run with it. He's gonna go over, he's gonna take the guys from London whole shit and he's gonna run with it. He's gonna start speaking Jamaican. He's gonna do everything, and he's just like, and I'm not trying to diss him. You know what I mean? He's a star. He makes records or whatever. Like, but dog, he's a wave
from the heavens.
He's a wave rider. He really is, and he's really good at it. He's really good at it. I can't hate on the boy because that's what he does. Like it's so clear, and some people get offended by it. Like the guys over in the UK, they get offended by some of the stuff that he's doing because they be like, we've been doing this all this time, and he just took it. You know what I'm saying? Don't show us no love. Like put me on. You know what I'm saying? Like the one dude he had on the record with him, he's beefing with that dude now. You know what I'm saying? It's like he took their whole thing and he does that a lot. So he's
XXX and Tentacion, God bless the dead, said that.
Yeah, I would call him
Grace. Who'd you say?
XXX and Tentacion said he bit his swag too when he said he was in jail.
Yeah, it's like he does like, and when you mentioned Amigos, that they had that Versace song, that was their song. He got on there. The song blew up. Then he took that whole flow. The next album you hear, like, because if you listen to Drake's album, they're so different from the first one.
Yeah,
he has that's what he does. He's more so of he's a wave rider. That's how I look at him, a wave rider.
Well, he started off as an actor.
But think about it, like all the top tier motherfuckers do that shit. All of them. You think about who's at the tip top. They rode the wave of some underlink, some other people that were influential. Either they've been around or in their camp, blah blah blah. Like even with that fucking, I mean, we get back to Jay. Like I said, I fuck with Jay. I love Jay, but that nigga wasn't talking that God body shit like that until he got on the record with goddamn Jay Electronica.
Right.
Jay Electronica made him dig into the book. You see what I'm saying? And ride that wave.
Right.
Just like Jay's been doing with everybody else that he's been around. You know what I'm saying? And morph into these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Trey, at a certain point, I think, and nobody cares about biting no more. Like we're at a time in hip hop where there are no rules. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like nobody's gonna call out Drake. If you do, you're a hater. You know what I mean? And it's just like, so at this point in time, it's like, look, I'm gonna ride whatever wave keeps getting me this money. You know what I mean? So I think just at this point, you know, nobody cares. Eddie, what you got left, good brother?
All right, so I got a couple influences and a couple of biting. I'll start with the influences. I got J. Cole being influenced by Nas because you can hear it in the way he raps and his flow and stuff, but I say it's not biting because his content is just completely different. You know, he had a whole different lane, so that's where I think is a good influence. And then, of course, I think Trey already touched on it. You know, Nas being influenced by Rakim and Kool G Rap. And then, you know, you got Black Thought was influenced by G Rap and Big Daddy Kane. And I think the thing about them, like, when you're influenced by multiple artists, you kind of blend it. You know, you take certain things, but you make it your own, right? But then I have an example of that going wrong, right? So Logic, he's a biter. He was influenced by multiple artists, but he stole their flows just verbatim on his first album. He bit Kendrick, he bit J. Cole, and he bit Drake. But what was even more bad about that, egregious, should I say, is they were still popping. Like Kendrick, Cole, and Drake, all on top, and he stole their whole swag, all their flows and everything on that album. And barely anyone said anything about it. It's crazy. Then I got Gorilla Black, and I think there's a difference.
Wow.
Shine himself, I give a pass to, even though he was with Puffy. Like, so Portia's looking at me crazy. With Shine, I feel like Shine had that voice, right? I feel like Puff grabbed Shine because he had that voice, but I don't feel like Shine was trying to be like Biggie. But I do feel like Gorilla Black was, like, because he's big. I felt like the way he rapped, the way he enunciated stuff, everything about it was Biggie. So
That's
anyway.
that was a straight.
I think
that was
Gorilla
a straight
Black-
fight.
And it was a gospel rapper, I think BBJ, who like, because I remember church people was trying to tell me like, yo, Kill, there's a Christian rapper who's like big, and I'm like, oh God, do we really got to do a Christian rapper like Big? Like,
I'm good.
y'all can still listen to Life After Death. We don't need no more bigs,
Right.
But he said Gorilla Black. I ain't heard that name in years. That's another thing about biters. You forget about them. Like,
You
it's
forget
like, oh
about
God, yeah, the Flatliners. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Gorilla Black.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like. Most of the times when you a biter, people have like just you're like hot for like a minute. Because here's the crazy thing about that, bro. That bootlegging song was on mixtapes. It had us. It was a good song for a minute, and then it was just like, nah, that shit whack. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that was quick. Briz, what you got for the rest of yours, man?
Oh man, so this one could go. This could go either way. I don't know who influenced who. And who. I know who. Okay, let me just come out with it. You got Aaron Hall and Guy, and you got
Don't say
Robert
it.
Kelly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, cool. We don't
Robert
say his
Kelly.
name on here. He's
Yeah.
Candyman. You wake up, you
Yeah,
say his name
okay.
3 times, your daughter's gone. So
And,
I like
the
that you said Robert Kelly. I was like, please don't say that
Yeah,
name.
He said who?
And,
He said
Aaron-
Aaron Hall and Guy and Robert Kelly.
and
Oh.
Public Announcement.
Public
Oh,
announcement.
Absolutely.
So I think the swag and everything got jacked first by Public Announcement. But then I think Aaron Hall came back around and rejacked it from them. So I don't know. Maybe
It was
somebody-
Aaron was first. Aaron was first.
Aaron was first.
And then
But then
Candyman came
Yo,
out with
Briz,
the
how you jack that back though, Briz? How you jack it back though?
yo, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Because Buddy came back out with the. I mean, it just looked like he went back up.
You know what happened? Because
Oh, man.
enough.
Well, you know what that was? Let me tell you the story. I was at a middle school, Kelly Miller in Northeast DC. This is what happened. Some of my 7th graders stole a car, drove it to school. Then my 8th graders stole a car from them. So the 8th and 7th graders beefing over a car that neither one of
That's
them
not even
owned because
good.
they both stole it. So you ain't know whose car it was at the end of the day. So that's how you can get jacked and not know who jacked who first and last because it wasn't even yours to start with. So,
Right.
but I would have to
Um,
give it to Aaron because Aaron, I want to say Aaron had the bald head first. I can't
Aaron
remember.
had-
No, because on the Future, JR, talk to us. JR on the Future, Aaron still had hair, right?
Yes, he did.
He had a fade. Yeah.
Well,
Curly
I mean,
fade.
the molester had hair too first.
Yeah,
Right.
I remember.
On
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
right.
On the
On the
one in the
first album.
90s, he had hair. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Well,
JR,
you
you're the
remember-
R&B guru. Who had the bald head first, Aaron or Candyman?
Oh, Aaron had it first, but they both stole from Charlie Wilson for
There you
real.
go.
Oh well,
That's a
JR,
fact.
thank you. Here's the thing: Charlie Wilson was the owner of the car, and then the 7th grader stole the car,
Right.
drove it to
Yeah.
school. Then the 8th grader
Yeah.
stole the car. And then
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I got my 8th graders, 7th graders shooting at each other over Charlie Wilson's car. So there we
Right.
go.
That was one of mine, big.
And then
Bring it all
I,
back.
And then just to finish it out, me being from the South, I'll tell you the ultimate bite was Master P biting Tupac's entire flow, swag. Not as good as Tupac did it, but totally stole it. Went from being Ice Cream Man to Is There a Heaven Full of Gangsta? Gangsta. Like that was like,
Oh my God,
like,
what a dork.
And here's the worst
that
part.
was it.
I'm like Rel right now because I've never heard a Master P song a day in my life. So just you saying that just
It's a
sounds
whole movement. But listen,
Hey, go
it was
listen.
a whole movement.
Hey, Kill, go listen to that song. Go listen to
The
that
whole
song.
What's it
movement.
called?
Heaven for Gangsta. Yeah, go listen to it. Go listen to it.
Oh my God.
You gonna see what he's talking about. You gonna see what he's talking about.
I listened to a lot of Master P because at the time I was in the Marines, and so I didn't have a car. You know what I'm saying? So if I was riding with my barracks mates, my roommates, whatever, like, you know, I wasn't around people from New York. You know what I mean? Like they were from all over. So like dudes from the South, they were listening to that Master. Like he was popular. Like maybe not in the East Coast like that, but everyone else, he was it. So I definitely recognize that.
He was king of the South for a long time.
So everything, No Limit, you know, and then of course the Cash Money. But I heard so much Master P stuff is crazy.
But he straight up like when Pac died, P came out and said, "I'm gonna be Pac." Like he came out and took Pac's whole cadence. Just that's me now. So
yeah, Pac got a lot of clones, man. Pac got a lot of clones.
All right. I forgot this. The Hood Rats. Here's the other kicker with the Hood Rats. The name of their album was going to be Sneaky Motherfuckers.
Stop.
And it was spelled SNEEKE. That's sneaky.
You're lying for real.
No, I swear to God, ASR 10. Like word is bond to Jesus. It was going to be called Sneaky SNEEKE MUHAFECK. They literally jacked everything from Onyx, from their look to the way they spelt their song titles out.
Right.
It sounds like you're lying. Like it sounds like you're making this shit up.
I understand it sounds like a living color. Dingbat and Dodo. I know it sounds like a skit. I know it sounds like CB4. Put it in Wikipedia because that's the only place you're gonna find the Hood Rats is Wikipedia because there's nowhere else to find them. So yes, it's all true. But that's how bad biting was. JR, what you got left on the R&B front, man?
Well, I can say this, that the Osmonds was definitely a bite from the Jacksons for real. Like a complete jack. Like that was a bite, and it is nothing to be said because their first single was given to the Jackson 5 first, and they didn't take it. So they took it and just stole a whole vibe for real, for real. Another bite I say is those pop 90s groups, them boy bands. That was a straight bite from our R&B 90s bands.
So we're talking NSYNC, we're talking
Backstreet Boys, all of them. That was a straight bite for real.
What about New Kids on the Block? Them too?
No, I don't. You know why? Because I feel like they were very influenced by they were them, but they were so influenced by New Edition, and they give them that. They give them that. You know what I mean? A lot the other people just don't give. Like those NSYNC and Backstreet Boys want to act like they did it. It's like shut up. But
question. But what's the difference? So if the person gives props to the person they're biting, does that mean it's not biting, or does that just mean the person is admitting?
Like Trey Lee said, it's also disrespect. That's where that comes in. It's the disrespect. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like I
think that's the thing where I disagree with. Like biting to me doesn't have to end with disrespect. Like even if you bite me, if I make a beat and you bite the exact same beat and you say I got great example. I got jacked for that MOP track, Rude Bastards, right? Little Fame came out and said I didn't do it, Kill did it. You know what I mean? Like even if somebody gives me credit for something, I still got jacked. Like you know what I mean? Y'all still took the beat.
Did you give him permission?
Nah, I gave him a beat. They got a beat tape at a show. A year later, I'm listening to their album, and I'm like, that's my beat. Like,
so they did it without your permission.
Right.
That's disrespect.
That's disrespect.
Oh,
Well,
I thought
see what
Trey
you
Lee was about to take
That's
you on as his
disrespect.
client. I thought this was about to get like courtroom juicy here.
Trey was like, what happened? Right, right.
But that's disrespect.
I see
You
what you're saying.
don't give me credit after the fact.
Right. I
Right.
see what
You
you're
know what I'm
saying. I see
saying?
what you're
That's
saying.
disrespect.
They said
I see what
Annie
you're
up.
saying. Right. I got
They
Jack.
said Annie up on that beat.
I think the thing for me, but so I think that just still sits wrong with me. But just me, just because even if you say if the New Kids on the Block come out and say we Jack New Edition, I want to know what New Edition thinks.
Right.
The person
But
getting
I feel
jacked,
like
the person getting
style.
swagger jacked.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It's hard to look at because here's the thing. 5 boys singing. So my mother would say New Edition Jack to Jackson 5. You know what I mean? Because there was 5 kids in the 5 people in the Jackson 5.
I was about to say that.
They didn't have to have 5 people. They could have stayed with Ronnie, Ricky, and Bobby or whatever. But they went for
That's
5 because
That was
5
one
the
of
thing.
my bites. That was one of my
Right.
bites.
So New Kids on the Block coming with 5 white boys. You could have got 4. You could have got 6. Why you staying
But
with
that
5?
was that was Maurice Starr already trying to do that because they left him. That's the
cool,
problem.
but
So that was
then-
already an automatic bite right there.
Yeah, that's a bite.
But that's what I'm saying. But it's a bite. But even if I'm giving credit to the biter, how do New Edition feel? Are they like, oh, that's cool. Y'all sold 50 million records and they gave us credit, nigga?
Oh, no,
at the
Edition
point-
was pissed. They
Right,
were
but
pissed.
that's what I mean by. But even if you're given the credit, the person who's being bitten is still feel some kind of way because unless you giving me some of that money, because
Right.
if you really got it from me, then
They
like I
weren't
said, with
getting it
Jeff
either.
and them,
and that's why I say when you do that shit after the fact, then it's a bite. But if they would have came to them beforehand and with an understanding, look, man, we like your style, we want to come out as the white version of y'all. Do we have your blessings? Or let's split some of this money up,
yeah, split the money,
Then
definitely.
it looks like a bite, but it's not because they
Right.
went to them before. So now you wipe the disrespect out of the way. But when you do that shit after the fact, man, don't pay homage to me, motherfucker. You took my whole shit after the fact. I want a piece of the bread.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. All right. All right, Trey, what you got left, good brother?
Well, you took one of mine, but I'm gonna do another one. Like, okay, so who started all that in the 90s and shit? Who started all that running in the fucking video? Just running for no reason.
I've got no idea, bro.
Well,
I got no idea.
whoever did that shit first, all the rest of the motherfuckers after that, that's a fucking bite, man. You just running for nothing. Just motherfucker, you just take off and shit.
Like, what was the,
That was
was
in
the
the
video
video
director
too.
like we gonna play a game of tag? Like I don't even know.
Funny. That's funny.
Wasn't that in What They Do? Like
Yeah,
in
they
front of
did
them?
it.
It's like, what are they running from?
What are we running from?
So that's one. That's an
Oh, God.
off top bite, motherfucking New Edition. I think bit the Jackson 5 straight up without the instruments. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And even I was listening to some songs that New Edition did on the first album.
Oh yeah.
I went back to the
Totally.
Jackson 5 shit. They just
Yeah.
changed the words, fucking same fucking melody track, all that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
People still think Candy Girl is by the Jackson 5. So
Nah,
it's
man, that's a bite, straight
Yeah.
up. And I know Maurice Starr didn't go to fucking Mike and them and say yo or Joe and them be like, yo man, we love y'all, man. We just want to
Yeah.
oh nah, definitely didn't. No, you're
Yeah,
right.
man.
You're right.
That's a bite. So
Yeah.
another one is goddamn Sugar Hill Gang, motherfucking. They bit
Oh, with Rappers Delight.
Chic. Well, not only the motherfucking
rhymes.
music, but the goddamn rhymes
Yeah.
without permission.
Yep.
Both of them
Yeah.
without permission.
Yep.
Yeah.
Straight up and down. That's a fucking bite. Or the whole composition is a bite. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that's all I got, man. I had nothing but bites left. There's a whole, like I said, there's a whole lot of
There's a
shit.
lot of bites. out
There's
here.
a lot of bites.
There's a lot of bites out here.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I got
What you
one
say?
more that's kind of I got one more that's more of a question of who bit who, because I was reading this article, basically Das effects and Fushnikens.
Oh, Fuchs niggas bit Das.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Fuchs- I mean, Das was first, and then I came home from school one day and there was 3 niggas in the goddamn Chinese box rapping. All in my face.
And the
So-
thing about it is, you absolutely right. And the thing about it is, I think Chip Fool is an incredible.
Oh,
You went out.
Damn,
out again.
again.
But
Yo,
yeah,
Easton on this episode, yo. He Easton, yo.
yeah.
Hey, before he come back, let me ask y'all a question too. I got one for you.
Das
Real
was
quick,
first.
we was talking about album covers, right?
Mhm.
Raekwon had the purple tape, and then Redman came out with the red tape. Anybody remember that?
I don't even
Mhm.
remember Red Tape. What was that?
Red-
That was
red-
there is a dark side.
There's a
right?
dark side was the red tape. Yeah,
It was a red tape.
there's a dark
I
side.
don't even remember
Yeah.
that. I just
Trey, you
remember
remember
Yeah, it
that?
was.
Yep,
Yeah, it was
Remember
red.
that?
Yeah.
absolutely.
Was that a bite? Was that a bite?
I would
And
say
I-
hell
and
yeah.
I
I mean, if you got the
remember
purple
Dark
tape,
Side.
I mean, if we just naming colors now, yeah, there's a bite.
here's the thing. Can I comment on that? If it was any other rapper and any other group, I would say it was a bite. But Redman is so closely connected to the Wu that even if it's just Method Man, I think he's so interconnected and they respect him enough that they wouldn't even consider it a bite. So I wouldn't.
I
I
think that-
personally just
yeah.
again, this goes back to the Illmatic
Slick-
album thing.
I thought you was
It's
gonna take it
that-
back to Slick Rick with the
No,
crew.
no.
If you're crew,
No. I was gonna take it back to the Illmatic. Like it depends on who you are and what album you're biting, or who you are and what
Mhm.
you know what I mean. So like Redman for me, I think Wu would give him a pass. Like that's Redman. That's like one of our affiliates, even if he's not an affiliate. You know, that's just the way I see it personally. But I don't know what the group thinks.
yeah, I would say it's a bite. I don't know shit because this whole crew thing now is
Yeah, that's
is hard with me.
I got a
because
lot
I'm
of
still
niggas
stuck
think,
on.
for
I'm
real.
still stuck on 15-year-old Naomi being like, well, why you think Dana Dane ain't a biter? You know, because Dana could have been like, no, nigga, I don't want to rap like a British accent. Like, I don't want to. Like, did Slick make him? Like, was he beat up after school? Like, or was it just like, okay, I don't know. Like, you don't have to rap like you're from France. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to. Like, it would if I came out like, let's say Eddie's Jamaican and Eddie's like, hey, Kill, we should be a Jamaican group. Act like you're Jamaican. Like, I don't know if I can act like I'm Jamaican all the time. Like,
Hold on.
if we get on
Let me counter that. So back then, you know what I'm saying? Like motherfuckers was especially if you was in groups and shit, you was doing the same
Right,
shit that
whatever
the
the
other
group was.
motherfucker was doing. Like
Right.
all them niggas was, ha ha ha. All them niggas doing that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Trey said a whole bunch of niggas was sounding like they was out of breath on the
Everybody
mic.
motherfucking ha. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like they was all doing that shit. So are they biting or are they, you know
No,
what I mean?
and you're right, because everybody had, Cool Rock Ski was in the name, or
Nigga, yeah, like,
all that stuff was in the name. Okay. Here's the thing, y'all.
I cannot, y'all.
All right.
You're
Now,
gonna have to edit this shit.
here's something that I got. I wish Vern was here because I would never hear the end of this. But here is something that I think was a bite, but it was a 5 mic bite. Now,
Stop it, Killer. Stop it.
That ass.
I can't
Now.
wait to hear this.
Yeah.
19 the years, I'm gonna be like the damn Lords of the Underground with Funky Child. The year was 1997. Okay. D'Angelo had come out with Brown Sugar in 1996, but D'Angelo was nowhere to be found. We did not know when another D'Angelo album was gonna come out. A young DeBarge brother put out this 5 mic classic, in my opinion, right here. Long Time No See. Sounding just like motherfucking Brown Sugar.
Oh no, you tripping? Mm-mm.
But I love this album.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So it's just me.
No,
Y'all
you
didn't like
tripping.
Iggy.
You are
Y'all did not like
tripping.
Great.
Y'all did not like No Guarantee.
Grade
Y'all
A,
did not like
100% bites.
Y'all are tripping right now.
No,
No.
I said it was 100% bite, but fuck it. I'm just, y'all know me. I die on my own hill. I love this, and this is what was here for. This was for Burn. Myron, okay, goddamn it. This was another. Okay, when I heard We Could Get Down with Spinderella, I said that shit sound like D'Angelo, but I don't care. I like it. I would die on the goddamn Myron hill. This was a good album. And I don't care what y'all say. Y'all
But that's a bite. That is a
Y'all
bite.
You're
What's
emotional.
what's
You're
up with that
emotional.
cover?
two biting albums, and maybe it was
Yo.
just because I wanted some new D'Angelo so bad that you know what it was, Trey. Bro, y'all from Philly. We ain't in Philly no more. You want a chicken cheesesteak from Pagano's or Pat's? I mean, not Pat's. What am I talking about? From Max's down Bornary, from D'Alessandro's, but you can't get one because you're not there. So you're gonna get the second best thing. That's what these albums were. They were second best thing to me. Well, fine, Trey, the Wawa cheesesteak comes down too, but damn it, Wawa cheesesteak.
Hold up
Nigga,
that
you know what that
Myron
is? You know what that is? You know what that is? That's a steak and cheese, man. That's what the fuck that is. A steak and cheese from DC, man.
Myron, okay. What's up with that
That
cover,
is
yo?
as bad as the album cover is. It
That
is a
album
dope
cover
album.
is
though.
trash, bro.
Ralph said, "What is that?" Ralph said,
That album cover is so spicy.
It's terrible.
Yo, Kel, just like
What's
you
up?
say when you look at album covers and you be like, I'm not listening to that shit. That is exactly what I see with that joint right there. Like I would never listen to that shit. This nigga's draped across the bed with the fucking satin, with the cranberry satin
I got the
fucking.
same cranberry John. Like he is drooling, yo.
Hey, you know what? I bet Spinderella's getting more royalties off of that album than her Salt and Pepper stuff.
It's cool. It's cool. Nah, I mean, y'all gotta understand. I already know I'm gonna get joked on when I pull out loud. I already know.
Yo, it's
So
not a bad album. The cover.
Yo, look at that nigga right there.
Yo said the cranberry satin.
That nigga got on the goddamn. Oh man.
Kill you a real one for that. You a real one for that. I couldn't get past the cover. You
But
did
Kill,
it.
you
14-hour shift,
yourself,
total
though.
collective.
You
Like, man, I'm tired.
You'll be quick to say, I'm not going to get an
Yo,
album.
Bridge,
cover."
you stupid.
And you
No. Here's the problem. Here's the problem, Jared. Here's the problem. I want some D'Angelo. No new
Right.
D'Angelo's out. Keep in mind, Brown Sugar 96, Voodoo 2000. We talking 4 years.
Right.
I want
Well,
some new
5,
D'Angelo.
actually.
I saw the video for Myron's We Can Get Down. I
Oh,
liked the
okay.
video.
That's how you. Okay,
I
got
liked
it.
the video.
Okay.
So I was
Okay.
like, I'm gonna buy the album.
Got
So,
it. I got it.
You
I
know,
thought
matter
you
of fact,
just
I didn't
scored
buy
in
this album. This is from the radio station. You can see it from promotional use type thing. So, but I like the song first, and that's what it is.
I
know
thought you
nobody
was in like
album,
Sam
but-
Goody and you saw
No,
it.
I
and
wasn't
just
Sam
grabbed
Goody, and I just saw it. No. You know,
Okay,
this is
all right, then you good.
But Kill, hold on, Kill. I'm just trying to adopt your philosophy, son. Like your philosophy is, yo, if that album cover looks crazy, I'm not listening to that shit. How come you couldn't?
That's
look
what
at
I'm
that
saying. Thank you, Trey.
no.
How
But what
did
I'm
you just
saying is
skip over
Trey.
your philosophy?
But here's what it is, Trey. Nowadays, when we get music, we don't get a single. I just see the cover. So for Eddie's Thing of Genius with Jean Grey and Ninth Wonder, I hadn't heard anything. And I'm like, I'm not listening to it. Whereas, like I said, I saw the video for everybody watching at home. Just do me this. I don't ask for a lot. Y'all know I don't. All I ask for is retweets of the show, and that's it. Just go to YouTube and put in We Can Get Down Myron.
I got to get
Just-
past my own ignorance. I got to
and
get
just
past my
see-
own
and just see if you like the
It's
song.
dope. It's a dope.
I think the
joint.
album is very dope. Is the album cover
It is.
horrible? Hell yeah,
It
it's
is.
horrible.
That shit
It's
is
horrible.
horrible.
It's
The cover's
horrible.
terrible. It's terrible.
To me, this cover is terrible. I don't know what's going on. Is Chico DeBarge in a burning?
just for the
I don't know
record,
what's going on in this album cover right here? He looks like he's in a fence and the house is burning down.
Y'all clown R&B like this. We not ending this like this. If y'all clowning R&B like this.
No, JR, we're not clowning R&B, but I'm
They are, you not, they are.
Nah, I love R&B, man.
But again, I
R&B.
saw the video for Iggy Me with Nia Long, with him and Jay.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, yo, this song is dope. Hold on, because Rel listen
Yo,
to
that
it.
other nigga look like
Hold
Sugar
on,
Free
hold
on the
tight,
fucking
hold
cover,
tight.
man.
See, Rel head bounce. Look at the head. Look
That
at it.
joint hard. Like, I'm not
Nah. I can see why the song is good, and it gives you that D'Angelo.
And again, the year is 1997.
Yeah.
So thank you, Rel. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying on my Myron front.
Him though.
having you back with Myron. I think it's a
Yeah,
great album.
you do, JR. You do.
For
It's
sure.
a very
For
good
sure.
album.
The cover does suck. Like
Yes,
Tracy
both.
said, he got on Cranberry Satin, but I ain't
Both.
here for it. Like,
Like,
I
dude
don't.
is on a bed.
Both of
He's
them
burning up
albums
in a
are
house
crazy.
in a fence. I don't know what's going on.
Right, Eddie, right.
Yeah.
But
He looking like Sugar Free on the joint with the van with the string and
again,
You gonna get yo? Why do you do this to yourself?
because I don't. Here's the funny part. Here's the funny part to me. I clown on people. To me, this is growing up in Philly. You bust on each other. You know, you make fun of each
It's
other.
not
Like,
you,
you know,
Bill. I ain't busting on you. I'm busting on that cover, yo.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I already know what and that's why I said I wish Vern was here because he'd be playing the trombone right now. He'd be
Yes,
doing stuff
yes, he
stupid.
would.
He'd be playing the drums or whatever. All right, y'all.
Cover look
We
like that
got
cover.
two people up
it
here
was
right
like,
now.
hey,
Who
What'd you say, Briz?
you say,
I said
Briz?
that cover looked like they was like, "Hey, Myron, man, I know you just came home from work, man, but we got to shoot this album cover, man." Myron was like, "Ah, man, all right, man. Give me 5 minutes, man. Just give me 5 minutes."
Let me lay across this bed. Throw my cranberry joint on, lay across the bed. That boy crazy.
All right. It's cool. I'm glad that everybody has some jokes on my behalf. And it's cool because I knew they was coming. And that's cool. We have two people who have dope projects out right now. This is my man Briz. He has been the in-house engineer for Cool and Dre for umpteenth years. Everybody should know Cool and Dre, all the big hits they've had. Briz, tell them about the book that you got out right now.
Man, so I wrote this joint called Air Hustling, the Studio Blueprint. It's basically it's an introductory guide to recording art. So if you are an artist, a producer, or somebody who's always kind of looked forward to doing it yourself, this is a good way to do it. You can go to my website. It's called airhustlingmedia.com, and it gives you a good from A to Z basic approach to it, from microphones, how your ear works, what frequency and amplitude is, and just the nuts and bolts of what engineers do. And we live in a real microwave world right now. So instead of it just being some big encyclopedia type thing, it's just a quick 100 pages that can get you up and running, and then give you the information to ask the questions to take it deeper. Like, you don't want to just go in and Google and start Googling something because you'll go down this rabbit hole. So instead, if I give you the quick A to Z on how to do it, then you'll be like, okay, I know how that works. How can I get a compressor to do this? How can I get an EQ to do this? And you'll be able to find your answers a little bit easier. So check it out. It's my first book, and it's
Hold it up to the camera. All right.
This is the draft version. And it's pretty simple. I also give like good little diagrams and details in there about different things, knobs, faders, so you'll get a lot of good information in there. It's 20 years of experience plus, kind of like the style and approach that I learned when I went to audio school. I went to Full Sail 20 years ago. So taking that knowledge and combining it with the experience and thinking about everybody who can't afford to go to Full Sail, who doesn't have the time because they are raised in their own family, they have their own careers. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you. So be on the lookout for that. Go to the website. You can pick it up there. You can also pick it up on Amazon. It's called Air Hustling Studio Blueprint. So
and give them
check
a
it
quick
out.
rundown of some of the people you've worked with, you've engineered for, you've mixed for.
So first and foremost, I think everybody knows "Hate It or Love It." That's the #1 record. That was by The Game. Records like New York with Ja Rule and Fat Joe and Jada and everybody from Fat Joe, Keisha Cole. I mean, it's about a good 25 albums. You can also check my credits on my website as well. I put them up there for you as well. So, I'm just out here trying to do something for the people, man. Just pass on something, leave a legacy so that, regardless of if it's 10 years down the line, you pick up this book and it'll still have the blueprint for you. So
Right.
Definitely check it
And
out.
I think this book is so essential because what I'm always telling people is in the past, every producer had an engineer because the producer's job was just to make the beat. Trey, when Guru was talking about the joint I did for you, when he's like, Kill did his job, now to bring the dynamics out, now that's my job. So I said Primo had Eddie Sancho, Pete had Jeremy Staub, Timbaland had Jimmy D, Just Blaze had Young Guru. Like, that's the way it used to work. But because everything's independent now, it's now forcing producers to become mix engineers. And that's two totally different languages. That's like somebody who knows how to speak English now trying to speak Spanish on the fly. And it's, it can become expensive. When I first got Pro Tools, I brought the whole Pro Tools for Dummy book, which is like 500 pages, which is crazy. Like I look at that and I'm like, oh man, I don't even know where to start. Where something like this, straight to the point. And again, a lot of the projects that are coming out, have good oomph in it, but if it's not engineered right and you don't know what you're doing, then it's like somebody, it's like when you go to Thanksgiving dinner and you're like, yo, who made the mac and cheese type.
You gotta stay competitive. You gotta be competitive out here.
So, I really think a lot of producers, because people be getting at me like, Kill, how you do this? Nigga, I'm Fred Flintstone. I don't know nothing. So I'm still on Mackie board. So, this is the perfect thing for all those in-home producers, all them people on Twitter who I make fun of, who be like, yo, I'm the record label CEO, but then wanting to be getting a beat on lease. Nah, nigga, pay for the beat. If you CEO, pay for it, but this is a dope book for that. So Briz, where can they get at you on Twitter, IG, all of that stuff?
You can find me at Briz, BRIZZ_air_hustling. On Twitter, you can find me at Air Hustling Book. And again, like I said, my website, airhustlingmedia.com.
All right, no doubt. Trey Lee, Glory.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about the album. Let's talk about the book. Let's talk about the merch.
Oh man, Glory out on all streaming platforms. We still pushing it. It's a slow and steady grind with it. We're doing it independently, but it's out on all streaming platforms. And what we're doing with the album is that we're attaching legs to it. To optimize the experience. So with that being said, one of the first things that we did, Briz, thank you for the good reminder because I forgot I had one. But here's the test print, at least the first test print of Glory the book, which is how we used to get the lyrics in the album, but because everything is digital and all that other stuff, we went ahead and we put it in the book. Now you'll see some markups in here, just me just trying to get through it and get through the test copy and stuff like that. But as you can see, there's artwork involved, along with the lyrics, along with, let me hold it up real quick, along with passages for each chapter or each song, which gives you an idea of where my head was with regards to that particular song, and just coming up with certain points in the song and giving you a more detailed look at those lyrics inside of this book here. Again, this is the first pass. We just went through the second pass, and I think I should have our final copies in stock in the next 2 weeks. We're doing very well with the pre-orders, and you can go pre-order this book right now, 20% off before we have it in stock at TracyLeeMusic.com. That's TracyLee music.com, TracyLee music.com. Get your pre-order now. So again, we got Glory, the album out on all streaming platforms. We have Glory the book out on the website, TracyLeeMusic.com, along with Glory merch. As you can see, my good brother Kill has a sweatshirt on right now. We have, you know, the hoodies, the sweatshirts, the t-shirts, the scarves, the mask, everything. And it's all uniform and it's all black. You know what I'm saying? Because that is the feeling and the aura of this particular project, of the music, of the literature, all of that. It's all uniform. You know what I'm saying? So again, TracyLeeMusic.com for the merch, book, you know, music as well. That's on the website as well. But then if you don't want to go to the website and get the album, you can go to all streaming platforms for Glory.
But the website is what gives you the most money.
Gives you everything. The website, TracyLeeMusic.com, got it all, and it has every album that I've ever done. Now, a lot of people think I just, you know, fell off the face of the earth, but I got 5 albums on there, along with some other nuggets that I've done. I got over about 300-400, maybe 500 songs that I have not released yet. So, but they'll be, you know, bit by bit being put out on my website as well. So go ahead and subscribe to the website.
You can get physical copies.
Physical copies of one of the albums that I have called ESQ, but so that I have that available. But then the other thing is with Glory, we're gonna come out with the vinyl for Glory as well. Like we're doing a video album of Glory as well. We're in the process of making the video album too.
Okay.
All right.
And
Where can they get at you? What's your
on
Twitter and IG?
Would you say, Paul?
What'd you say?
I said you're still on Patreon, right?
Yes, and you can go to patreon.com and really get the behind the scenes insight on, you know, a lot of the studio sessions that we do. There's a studio session that I have with my man Eric Robeson that's on that platform, and anything that we do with this video album, we'll be doing all the outtakes and all that kind of stuff on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Tracy Lee Music. But any other social media platforms, you can get at me on IG, Tracy Lee ESQ, TRACEYLEEESQ. You can get at me on Twitter at TRAYLEE. You know, Facebook is Facebook, and I'm on Clubhouse as well under Tracy Lee.
Trey, you be up in them Clubhouse rooms, bro. You
I know.
You running that spot over there.
I'm not see what happened, man. I was shaking and moving with, you know, like Royce, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I didn't know, you know, we knew each other from back in the day, but he just started bringing me up on stage in a couple of the rooms. So now it's just like reintroducing myself to a lot of people that, you know, just didn't know, or, you know, inquisitive about what I'm doing now with regards to the legal side, you know, me being a lawyer and all that. So it's really, I'm using Clubhouse as a reintroduction, man, because a lot of people, they just don't know. They just don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no doubt. JR, the R&B rep, tell them about what's going on, the radio show, everything.
All right, me and my partner in crime, Elise, we are the R&B reps. We got our shirts on the rnbreps.com. You can get shirts and merch there. We have our radio show that is on Thursdays from 2 to 4 on WFDU 89.1, HD2 on iHeartRadio. We do our lives on Tuesday, and now we're starting to do interviews. We did our first interview today. We're going to bring those out every Sunday, starting in 2 weeks. And we got another interview that's is dope. So, you know, we starting to do our interviews. We just building the brand. So you can go to the R&B Representatives on Twitter, go to R&B Representatives on Instagram. And you can go to mine is JR World of Soul on Twitter and Instagram.
All right. Eddie, tell them everything about freestyle, good brother.
All right. So first, the freestyles.com website, I started, you know, help promote independent artists and, you know, everything, you know, going on. So I just did my first interview for my platform. With Chade Somerset, who is DJ Rex One brother, who is a very dope producer. So you know, he has an album coming very soon. That's I heard it in its entirety. It's amazing. It's incredible. I mean, if you're into instrumental hip hop, it's dope. So you know, it's about a 50-minute or so interview. You know, he's talking. So, you know, I'm doing that. I'm still going to be doing reviews, you know, I'm still, you know, doing different write-ups. So, you know, a lot of different content that I'm doing. Also you could find me on Twitter at EddieD80 and on Instagram at Freestyles.
All right, Rel, where can I get at you, good brother?
Instagram, Uptown J Ben. That's me on JBen215 on Twitter. Also, when this whole pandemic thing is over, I am I'm facility manager of a performing arts center in Bowie, Maryland. That's where I met Tracy Lee at. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, of course I do. Absolutely.
And so I just put that out there. So once all this is over, just know those doors are open for a show, a live podcast,
Okay.
workshop, whatever you need. Those doors are open. So that's what that's one of my that's my second job. And
I'm on your heels, Rel, on that. I'm definitely on your heels on that.
Yeah, so when all this is over, I just want to let all y'all know that is my doors is open for that.
Say less,
all right.
bro. We on that. Porsche. She hates Drake, loves Troy.
And I'm the most useless one of the Apartment 5B crew. I don't do anything.
Oh my gosh, girl.
Twitter, at Virtual Porsche, always a fun time on my TL. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And our clubhouse, Apartment 5B clubhouse editions.
Here's the funny thing: you say you don't do anything. You're running this whole clubhouse thing,
Right.
every month.
Right.
But it's still, anyways. Apartment 5B on Clubhouse, 6:30 on Monday, 6:30 Pacific time, 9:30 Eastern time, every Monday, and it's been such a great.
Can I get a ping? Can I get a ping every Monday?
Like, you know what, Trey? I see you every single Monday, and you're always
Like you're already in a room. Like
Yeah,
Trey, you in
already
In a room.
one
Like,
time.
you see that, Trey. You be in a
We'll
room.
ping you.
Listen, please, it ain't like I can't dip out the room. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.
We got you.
you.
Porsche, here's the other thing. Will you start calling yourself the co-host of this show?
No, I can't do it.
I've given you the title 3 years ago, nigga. Like, what are we like? I mean, do I need to send you a hoodie with the title on it?
Yeah. Send our hoodie, kid.
Anyway,
I gotta get Apartment 5.
Hey, listen, Porsche, you make the Glory hoodie look marvelous. You know how many sales I got from your joint, from your pictures?
Tracy Lee, I have a story for you about the freaking post, man.
We'll talk about that. Let me dead this so we can get off camera real quick. Y'all already know what it is with me. Kill889, Twitter, IG, we'll make beatsforfood.com. Y'all know where to get at me. All I'm asking for this year, help me get a 5B out there. That's my goal for this year. I want sponsorship. I want to be on. I want to be on somebody's streaming site. I want to get paid for doing this. I want to get my people's paid, but I can't do that by myself. It's just a retweet. I don't need nobody's money. I don't need nothing. Well, I always take money. I'm like Clay Davis. I take anybody's money who's giving it away. But what I do is just the retweets, So I love it. It's like you said in Coming to America. We love the sign with jingles, but we want the crisp. Like I'll take the likes all day. But if I could just get them 80 likes to become 80 retweets and every time, that would be great. That's all I'm asking for. I appreciate the hell out of y'all. I will check y'all next week, y'all.
See you guys.